I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. First thing I'll do is take a roll call. Mr. Bailey,
Present.
Mr. Hubble,
Here.
Mr. Ness,
Here.
Sheriff D. Ward is here,
Here.
Mr. Stockton.
Here.
Thank you. If everyone would please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, everyone, I'm going to give a brief overview of what the planning board's duties are and want to welcome everyone to the meeting tonight. This is the City of Graham's Planning and Zoning Board. We're an advisory board to the city council. It considers and makes recommendations to the council regarding any request for changes to zoning assignments. And as such, city council is the final arbitrator of the approved or disapproval. Meetings are conducted according to the written and published agenda. Individuals wishing to speak concerning any of the requests to be considered will be given an opportunity during the public comment period for each item. Please identify by raising your hand your desire to speak, and the meeting moderator, typically the board chair or vice chair, in the chair's absence, will recognize you. Please come to the podium, state your name, your address, and voice your comment. The time limit for comments is 3 minutes, but may be extended by the moderator to allow questions from the board. Please maintain a respectful and civil demeanor with all comments and responses to questions. The meeting moderator will signal when an individual's time has expired and will call for the next commentator. If an individual does not respect the time limit, speaks out from the audience without being recognized by the moderator, or is disrespectful of the board, they will be subject to removal from the meeting. Once the public comment period has been closed by the moderator, no further comment from the audience will be deemed out of order, and any individuals not respecting this will be subject to removal. Has anyone got a cell phone in here tonight? If you do, I just ask that you put it on vibrate, silent, and let's move forward. Before we move forward, Cameron, I want to ask a couple more things, not from you, Cameron, but from the board. Looks like we got several agenda items on tonight other than our project we've been working on. I would like to get a consensus from the board to move them ahead of our work project we've been working on, and if that's okay, is that okay with everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Has everybody had opportunity to look at the meeting minutes from last month? And if so, is any changes need to be made or any comments about them? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, Cameron, we're going to start with number 7A. New business.
And make sure I got it right. That is the
Parker, East Parker Street.
East Parker Street. Perfect. All right, in front of you all is a request to rezone 0.79 acre lot at 804 East Parker Street from B2 General Commercial, or is it 80? Okay, from B2 General Commercial to I1 Light Industrial for the purpose of utilizing the existing warehouse space for a landscaping company to run their operations out of. The B2 zoning currently supports contractor's office, but does not permit the outside use or the use of outside storage, which is why the applicant is requesting the rezoning. The land currently falls within the industrial/warehouse land use category, which supports the use of a large 1 or 2-story building with easy access to major roads like state highways and Interstate 4085. Uses surrounding the property or other warehousing uses, a church, and a mobile home park. And that will be my conclusion. And just clarification, it's 808, not 804 inside of the staff report. I apologize. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you. Is the petitioner or the applicant here? Oh, come on up and speak to us. Please state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Nicholas Melfi. You're looking for a business address or personal?
Either one.
It's 107 Fayetteville Street in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina, 27612 or 27601. I'm actually here on behalf of the property owner. I represent him, and he could not make it tonight, which I had. I let Cameron know that he was not going to be here, and I'd be here in his place. But yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Tell us what your purpose here for the rezoning, what you're wanting to achieve.
So Chris Papadopoulos, the applicant on the application, is the current owner of the property, and he's actually under contract to sell it. The buyer's representation, Calvin, is here as well. And they've got a tenant that is looking to move into the building. I believe Calvin can clarify, but they do landscaping supplies. Is that correct?
Hey, state your name and address,
Hi.
please.
Calvin Stevenson, Roswell, Georgia, representing the buyer. And this piece of property as is absolutely perfect for the tenant that we're putting in here. It's a warehouse. It has already fenced in outdoor storage. So no change to the property really is going to be made at all except for some parking. But we just need the existing outdoor storage to be able to be utilized. And in order to do that, we had to get it, or we're requesting that it be rezoned to I-1, which is what all the surrounding property seems to be as well already.
How many vehicles are you going to have working out of here?
Right now, they'll just be 2 to 3, but their growth projections will increase over the years. It's going to be a long-term lease. This is a subsidiary of a larger company that's based out of Atlanta. They've been here in the North Carolina market under different names, but they've been brought under one umbrella. So it's turf management. So your yard needs to stay green or weed-free or insect-free. This is what they do.
And what are we going to be storing outside in the outside storage?
It's just going to be parking for cars, number one. Number two, it will be their product, fertilizer, aggregate that they put out, on lawns, stuff like that. And it will be screened, is my understanding, the requirement. So the storage area that's already fenced off, you won't be able to see what's in there anyway.
Right, be sure on the screening, if it is approved, that you use the proper screening material where you cannot see through it. I know that in the past, there's been some people that were approved and they had to go back and rescreen twice. Just
Got
trying to save you some money there.
I'll take any suggestions on that note.
Mr. Bailey, start with you. If you have any questions.
No, sir, no.
Mr. Huffines? Mr. Benesh?
Would like to ask you about your storage, when you say vehicles and such, and then you put product as well. Are you saying that it possibly put some type of storage buildings there as well?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wooten?
Yeah, a couple of questions for you. The outside storage, nice fenced area there. Are you anticipating using any of the other property to store anything?
No, sir. That's just parking area.
Are you going to be storing any kind of large equipment? You say this is turf management. Are we talking about just things like mowers, or are we talking about bigger stuff like cranes,
It's,
backhoes, whatever?
these are just vehicles. They don't mow any grass. They don't cut anything down. They don't do anything. They simply treat plants and grasses, etc.
Okay, so we're not talking about backhoes or
No, sir.
loaders or bulldozers, anything like that.
No. They don't do install. They don't do anything like that.
Mr. Stocker?
Yeah, I got one for Cameron. Cameron, what's the surrounding neighborhood? What's
surrounding this property? Can you tell me?
So if you'll bring your attention toward the screen up here, as I mentioned, there's pretty much everything on the southern side of East Parker are these similar types of uses with kind of warehouse contractors, office space. This 804 East Parker Street right here is a church that's operating out of kind of like a warehouse building. So they're operating out of there. And using some of the parking area around it. And across the street of Elm Street over here is the Spanish Oaks mobile home development. Down Flower Street, you do have some single family residential. And that's essentially about it. Some more industrial up here toward the northeastern side. But as mentioned, if you can take a look, it's just kind of hatched out where our future land use plan shows all of this area being industrial / warehousing.
There are some businesses that are obviously industrial in
Yes.
that area, some large cranes and large equipment right next to it, as a matter of fact. So it's all pretty much industrial.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kirkpatrick. Couple more questions, just, I guess, maybe a competitor that would, so the board will quite understand. You're like a True Green.
Yes, sir.
Something like you're gonna have the trucks that go out and you're gonna apply chemicals, seed, fertilizer, pesticide, herbicides,
That's it.
and that's it, and it's all on trucks.
Keeping the lawns green. Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't have any further questions.
One other quick question,
Well-
these chemicals, lawn chemicals and such can be toxic or whatever. That would absolutely have to be secure. Is that?
Yes, sir. And I've already sent the list to the fire department. I've talked to them about it, gone over everything with them. And the quantities that they have are lower, just storage wise, then it puts in another bracket to where you have to house them individually or separately, et cetera. But they don't have, I mean, the hazardous materials is not really hazardous anymore because they won't let you use hazardous materials.
Right. Thank you.
Mr. Stark?
I could follow up. You're going to conduct any sales at this site at all?
No, sir.
Any further follow-up, Mr. Huffman?
Just one for Cameron.
Yes, sir.
Does this go to TRC for parking and driveway?
It depends on the updates that they plan on doing out here. If they do look to do some paving out here, we potentially will look at where their parking areas are at. So depending upon the paving schedule of which they work with, yes, sir, there is a chance. And that will also give us the opportunity to see the type of material they're using on their screened-in fence, et cetera.
Any further from the applicant? Thank you. Young MC, anybody in the audience
Thank
that
you.
would like to speak about this tonight? Since there's no one, I'm gonna close this public hearing and we'll have some discussion amongst ourselves.
Well, Mr. Chairman, with this rezoning, would there be any future problems because of the rezoning if this particular change were to be made and the tenant no longer needs the property and vacates?
That was one of my concerns, rezoning it back to a B2, because a convenience store, fuel can be stored there, gas pumps. It opens the door up. Cameron, if you would bring up B2 permitted uses.
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second. Y'all continue talking. I'll get it.
Thank you.
online.
But that was one of my concerns about rezoning, doing a total rezoning, because if they stay 2 months, 1 month, 6 months, and they leave,
Okay.
we've opened that up to a B2 zoning.
Just so I'm clear and we're clear here, the current property is zone B2 and they're looking to rezone it to I.
Oh, to-
Oh, to I1.
Yes, sir. So just point of clarification.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank
So
you.
it's going to be consistent with the.
It will be consistent with, so if you would not B2, bring up I1. I just want to look at a couple other,
Yes, sir.
you better.
What all's allowed in I-1?
Let's see. There's a long laundry list. I wish I had something a little more condensed. Talks about office spaces, ambulance, fire, police, rescue stations, special uses for amusement, water parks, things along those lines, commercial kennels with outdoor storage or runs. arts and craft studios, boutique shops, large item stores, athletic fields, auditoriums by special use permit, vehicle accessory and supply sales, vehicle assembly, painting, upholstering, rebuilding, reconditioning, vehicle body fender repair conducted completely within an enclosed building, vehicle sales, vehicle repair shops, not including body or fender repair, vehicle towing, let's see, banks, banquet halls, barber shops, batting cages that are outdoor, billiard halls, bingo games, bowling alleys, public amusement establishments, shops, bulk sales with storage yards, distribution centers, cabinet, woodworking, upholstery shops, campgrounds, commercial through special uses, car washes, cell towers, cemetery mausoleums, both those by special use permits, religious services, communication or broadcasting facility without tower, community centers, special use, contractor's office, no outdoor storage, convenience stores, with or without gasoline pumps, daycare adults, less or more than 6, daycare child, meeting safety standards, daycare child operates a home occupation, dwelling quarters for operators in adjacent buildings, primarily for non-residential use, dry cleaning, laundry services, electronic internet or sweepstakes gaming by special use, equipment rental, leasing, repair with no outside storage, equipment rental, leasing or repair with outside storage, food processing wholesale, flea markets by special use, floor covering, drapery or upholstery sales, funeral home, crematorium, garden centers, mini golf, swimming lodge, tennis lodge, clubs by special use, government office, home occupation, hospital by special use, hotel, motel, executive suites by permitted use by right, jails by special use permit, no junkyards, laboratories for testing and research, retail service with outside plant equipment storage, laundromats, manufactured home sales by special use. And all of these are going to be the different types of manufacturing
Yep.
industry types, apparel, bakery, bottling, dairy, electrical equipment, fabricated metal, glass products, heating.
Cameron, that's,
Sorry, y'all, somebody needed to cut me off there. I was going, I could have gone all night. I felt like I was kind of in a flow state.
I was trying to get there, but
You were on a roll.
Yes, sir. I mean, you can kind of, there are similar uses that are approvable in both the B2 and I1. But of course, the I1 is going to allow more of your industrial, of course, more oriented businesses where the B2 would not. And I think they could currently go in there right now as somewhat of a contractor's office and it'd be approvable, but it's the outside storage part of why they're requesting for this I1.
no, I don't think it's any different than Wallace Plumbing, which is right across the street.
Yes, sir.
They're running a plumbing company, right? So I don't have a problem with it. Does anyone else have any further discussion about this?
I think I-1 would be a more compatible zoning for that area anyway.
Okay.
Make it more attractive if somebody, if they did leave,
Mm-hmm.
more attractive from the sale.
And it fits in with everything that's already there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, didn't he say it's light industrial?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right there,
anyway,
right there.
right, right there, okay.
All right. I will entertain a motion on this.
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve it as presented. And that based on the Graham 2035 comprehensive plan and the City of Graham Development Ordinance staff, that it meets all the criteria of 2.1.1, 2.3.2, and 2.4.2 as put forth in the 2035 comprehensive plan.
I got lost there for 2.4.
Uh,
Where did you see 2 point?
2.4.2, did I read it wrong?
Unless I'm looking at the wrong one on the.
That's
oh,
correct.
good. That's
No,
what-
sir, I believe that's correct.
Did I?
You got it right.
I think
That's
you may
it.
be looking at the wrong page 4.
4. Mhm. Okay.
It was the very last 2.4.2.
All right. I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll
Second.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Cameron, let's move on to the next one.
Yes, sir, of course. So in front of you all is another request to rezone, conditionally rezone 0.22 acres of land at 602 Washington Street from B3 neighborhood business to CB conditional business for the purpose of allowing a life counseling use to be utilized inside of the existing building on site. Our development ordinance does not currently permit the use inside of the B3 zoning district, that use being life counseling. And the applicant is requesting a condition that all of the B3 uses for the property remain, but allow for the life counseling use to be permitted at this location as well. The applicant has provided a detailed list of the activities of the proposed use and conditions they are offering for the inclusion of the life counseling use condition that they are requesting. This property is listed on the future land use map as suburban residential. The suburban residential land use area describes principal uses in the zone are predominantly detached single-family homes, new neighborhoods, and new neighborhoods may include a range of duplexes, townhomes, and small-scale multifamily units of 12 units or less. It also states that supporting uses in this area are places of worship, daycares, park facilities, schools, civic spaces, and consideration of accessory dwelling units, provided they are designed to maintain the single-family character of neighborhoods. Designated neighborhood centers may include neighborhood-oriented commercial, small professional offices, live-work units, and home occupations, provided they do not generate excessive traffic and parking. The applicant has requested a condition that the site plan requirement be waived due to the nature of this request as well. And that is all that I have.
All right, is the applicant here? Come on up and talk to us. Hey, state your name and your address, please.
My name is Brianna Hutchinson and my address is 409 South Second Street in Mebane.
I didn't quite catch your first name.
Brianna?
All right, we're ready for you. Give us some.
Yes. So Petrie Learning Collaborative is requesting a conditional rezoning to operate a small
Excuse me,
community-based.
ma'am. Could you speak up just a little bit? Some of us are hard of hearing.
Good. It was better for y'all?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Pull that mic, pull that mic.
There we go. Is that better?
That's-
Yay! Okay. So Peachtree Learning Collaborative is requesting a conditional rezoning to operate a small community-based applied behavioral analysis therapy center servicing children with autism and developmental disabilities. The proposed site will service as a therapeutic, educational, and administrative space offering one-to-one therapy, small group instruction, parent training, and staff collaboration. The business model emphasized low traffic, low noise, and family-centered services consistent with the neighborhood compatible professional uses. We are trying to add in a fence in the back of the building. The fence, as requested by the landowner, Ms. Janet, is to make sure that it will be 6 feet. There is covering. We're not expecting to have any large equipment and small things like bikes, tricycles, things for hopscotch, etc. The proposed usage, we will be servicing children between the ages of 2 and 18. The business is owned by myself, and our two co-founders are here, Ashley and Charmaine. There will be no medical procedures, overnight stay, or high traffic services will occur on this site. Our hours of operation will be between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. with occasional weekend appointments and evening parent workshops, no more than 2 per month. Staffing on this site will be no more between the 3 and 7. Typical daily staff would be between 4 and 6. The roles that would be at the site is a behavior analyst, which is myself, registered behavioral technician, and administrative support. We do expect daily client visits to be between 4 and 6 clients. We will be staggering appointments, so majority of our clients will have a morning session, which is be between 8 and 1. We'll close for an hour lunch break, and then we'll have children between 1 to 6. The site will remain quiet and professional atmosphere. All activities that will occur outside will make sure that it's within the fence area. No children will be playing in the street where it disturb any of the neighbors. We do have to follow ethics and medical guidelines, so we do make sure that all of the children are safe within the building as well as outside. We do have security cameras within the building and outside of the building to make sure that everyone is safe. The environmental and community impact, there will be no hazardous materials, medical waste, or industrial processing done at the site. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Hey, Ms. Kirkpatrick, you ready?
I just think for the sake of all of us, if you could maybe explain kind of what you do there with the children, I think it'd just be maybe useful for those of us that don't know.
So majority of our children have a diagnosis of autism, and what we do is we work with them one-to-one, developing living skills, adaptive skills. A lot of our children are non-vocal. So we work on communication, coping skills, emotional regulation, help support them within everyday life. Yes. Oh, yeah.
About how many vehicles and what kind of parking facilities will you have there?
Currently is, we are using the parking that's already established there. We're not adding any additional, parking material or anything like that. We shouldn't have no more than 7 vehicles at the building.
Cameron, is there room for 7 vehicles on that property?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm trying to think of previous uses, and I can try and get it pulled up on Street View as well, and we can kind of look at it. And that was, of course,
Time since it was being used.
almost 3 years old.
There's plenty of parking. But I haven't seen anybody in that building in a long time. Be a great spot.
a little bit update. I think this is relatively close. I don't know if there's still existing gravel or if more gravel's been put out. But I know the addition of the handicap parking space was required. But I think that there's definitely availability in the grass area for parking area if they needed it. So I don't know if they have plans on adding in gravel or anything or concrete for any parking. But essentially, our ordinance doesn't really, we have a maximum amount that's required. So we can't require them up to a certain point, so they can have as much or as little as they need. Up to what extent of that max.
For clarification, many, many years ago, there used to be a convenience store, Old Fresh Air Market. That first awning there with the door, that was open air. Just an awning at the time.
Right there.
Then they closed that in later.
Back in 1920.
1891.
I couldn't resist. I had to get you on that.
Mr. Wooten?
Where do you anticipate putting the fenced area? How big will it be?
So in our site plan, it is listed as, 1 second. The proposed fence will be approximately 30 feet by 20 feet by 30 feet, and 6 feet in height with covering. It'll be in the back.
Like around this area, can you
Yes,
see
sir.
my?
Yes,
So you're
that's
saying
correct.
30 by,
It'll be 30 by 20 by 30.
got you. That's 30 by, I imagine it's
And
probably
the-
just gonna fill in this corner back through there.
And 6 feet.
That's what I was, and have anticipated, but just wanted to verify that.
6 feet high, would that violate any ordinances?
No, sir.
Or to put something in and we have to just change it?
No, so currently we don't have any fencing standards
Right.
here inside the city height wise. Even for coverings for outdoor play, I don't think that there's anything that's associated because it's not a daycare. It's not anything else. It's essentially just playground, which doesn't really have much requirements inside of our development ordinance. But it sounds like the applicant or the owner of the property has asked the applicant to make sure it's screened. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but 6 feet's not a problem.
Got a question for Cameron.
Yes,
The
sir.
building that's right next to it, just north of it, is that building still active? It's manufacturing of some sort?
Right here,
Yeah,
this one?
604.
I really do not know, to be quite honest with you. I do not have an understanding whether or not it's still operational or not.
I would have a concern if there's any sort of impact from what they might be producing in terms of fumes, whatever, that might affect your kids. Do you
Uh,
have any information on what's in that building?
So that's Miss Janet's office.
I got a lady back here. Come on up, maybe you can fill us in. State your name and address, please.
Janet Eckelbarger, 2872 Nereus Drive, Mebane, and I also own 602 Washington, 604 Washington, and the apartment complex to the south of it.
Okay.
That industrial building is our art studios. We do not have any chemicals in there. I also run a tax office out of there. It's just generally kind of a big art studio now. There's nothing going on in it.
So nothing that would affect the children.
Nothing at all. No, no.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's all I had.
I missed your operating hours, 8 AM to what?
6 PM.
6 PM? And you said 4 to 6 clients per day?
Per session unit, so that's 8 to 1. Then we have an hour break and then it's 1 to 6.
1 to 6, and then, so you'll be looking at another potential 4 to 6 between 1 to 6?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, what is the average time limit you spend in a counseling session? Is it an hour, 2 hours, or is it 30 minutes?
So it depends on the child's assessment. How ABA works, we go based off units per week. So if we have a hypothetical client that needs 15 hours of services a week, what we will do is try to schedule 3-hour sessions every day.
And is it safe for me to say that you're licensed with the state of North Carolina?
Yes, sir.
As far as your outdoor playground,
Mhm.
what would be your age limit that you would allow out there?
So we will actually have it where the younger children, so ages 2 to 12, actually use the outside playground. Our older clients between the ages of 13 and 18 will most likely be out in the community with them.
Okay, and is there someone that's out there with them while they're out there by themselves or a
Yes.
staff member?
So we actually operate using the requirements that daycares use. So we make sure there's appropriate ratio outside.
And I'm assuming there's no regulations on how many patients that you could see. I call them patients, but clients. How many
Yes.
clients that you could see in a given day? Based on, it would be based on available staff members, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You realize that with a conditional rezoning, that if this board was to consider approving it, that there could be other conditions that we may establish that you would have to do, which when I say we're not the final say, the council would be the final say, but
Yes.
council may listen to what we say and they may change what we say, but you realize it could be some other conditions other than the fence?
Yes, sir.
I think that's all I got right this second. Mr. Bernesh?
I believe, from your application, you were saying that there would possibly be 1 to 2 children at any one time there. Am I reading that correctly, or?
Yes, sir.
So there's not a great need for a lot of parking in that area then, correct?
The parents will drop their child off. Most parents do not stay for services. They leave, do other things, and then they come back and pick up the child. So most likely the vehicles outside will be the staff.
So is there any kind of security issue with that?
No, sir. So how we will have it set up is that the staff will go to the car, get the child out of the car. The parents sign in the child through our Bright Wheels app, and then we'll bring the child inside.
Okay. Do you operate or have anyone within the business that you have in other areas that do the same type of work?
No, so we do have in-home services as well. We do have 2 clients that's in a different county.
That's all I have for right now, sir.
Yes, sir.
I just have two questions. Basically, they're technical and procedural questions in nature. Cameron, in the site plan, Peachtree Learning Collaborative, LLC conditional rezoning request that's submitted, the 1,435 square feet, that's the building's square footage. I'm assuming that's the
Yes, sir.
case. Cameron, just for the record, can you determine or tell us what the life counseling use is considered, low volume, high volume, and then we can analyze the parking technically on square footage and on use in the interest of fairness and consistency if we move forward.
Yeah, for sure. I might need to look at our parking table and essentially see what that says. And because I don't like, there's not a specific life counseling,
So we would say medical office type use at 1 per 600 square feet or 1 per employee or something similar that would be practically applied to this use,
mhm.
just so that we make sure we address this for future applicants.
Yes, sir. I totally understand. And I guess that's the difficult part as well, because, I mean, say for instance, I mean, I guess if you would consider this to be the maximum use on this property of, inside of that B3 area, something else may come through. I think even convenience stores are permitted inside of the B3 use, which may require more parking than what their life counseling or office space use may require or state inside of the development ordinance. So if we want to just, are you asking?
Okay, so that helps me. So let's assume that the 1 per 200 rate applies. That'd be 7 spaces and 1 handicap. There's obviously room to accommodate 7 spaces.
Yes, sir.
So we can let that issue go. Thank you. I'm satisfied with that. The second technical issue is that the petitioner applicant formally asked that the plan portion of the conditional zoning submittal be waived. Was that a formal process? Was that something that is up to us to determine?
Yeah, so if you remember back to the other conditional business that we approved for the home occupation, for the hair salon,
Correct.
they kind of presented a similar thing that they are showing as well, just kind of an overview of the site and didn't really give us much of a site plan. It was presented to the applicant that conditional rezonings do typically and are required to come with a site plan. But I believe based on precedent that was set with the hairology, it was allowed for the understanding that this is really just to add the condition of the use to be included in the table and not necessarily require the site plan. If that is, my memory serves me correctly on y'all's decision on that one.
That's correct. Okay, I'm good. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Bailey,
I'm good. I don't have.
any follow-up? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Anyone else here in the audience that would like to speak about this tonight? Having not seen anybody raise their hand, I will close the public hearing on that and we'll have discussion amongst ourselves. I'm open to anyone starting.
Mr. Chairman, did we put a stipulation on it here so long? Didn't work out. Change or close the hair salon that it would.
I don't recall that as that being a stipulation. I think it automatically reverts back when it's a conditional because it's business specific.
Yeah.
Sure, I won't.
Let me, because I think, sorry.
I thought it reverted. But I think that question was presented.
And I can look back in the plans of kind of what was recommended by you all. My thought and understanding is essentially it was permitted in that CB category, but was only permitted for the home occupation of the hair salon. And I think the single family home use, and I think there might have been a garage in the back that was being utilized as maybe an accessory dwelling unit. And I think that is what y'all put on there was, those are the only three things that are allowed on this property currently. If
Thank you for that clarity.
I'll double check and look on here, but I'm fairly, not fairly certain, but that's my recollection of it. I'm happy to answer anything else as well while I look through this.
And if in fact the rezoning moves forward and is approved at council, would they be required to present to you at TRC for any reason so that she's aware of that or?
Yeah, I think it's similar to the discussion we had with the Parker Street area over there. If there is a condition that says that they shall install X amount of parking spaces on there, that's what we would look at. And also the fencing that's going back out there. I don't think that would apply, but if there's a parking aspect, we would likely need to see that on a set of plans. That may not go through the technical review committee, but it's something that us staff would look at and probably go through the building department for their building permit to pave out there, I'd imagine.
Is there a fence permit that she would have to be aware of?
No, sir, we do not have any standards for fencing or permitting.
I think it'd be a great use for that building. It's
Mm-hmm.
in a good location there, and sounds like she's got a good job plan ready, business plan ready for this, and I think it'd be a great use for it. I'm only concerned about the fencing in the back and around there. That needs to be a condition that the fence has to be installed and that no other business can be run out of there other than what she's applying for.
I think, it's beneficial to note as well that, because the CB, and I think this is what y'all should state inside of there, the CB bases off of the B2 zoning uses. So if you are in favor of this, it'll be important to essentially, the only condition that you're implying on this is that the lot shall serve for all the current B3 uses with the inclusion of the life counseling, if that makes sense. Yes, sir. I just wanted to make sure that was kind of cleared that the request is essentially to include that. So it needs to be kind of addressed in that manner.
I guess, well, I mean, if it's a conditional business zoning request, we could limit that to one business type. Is that not correct?
You could indeed, sir, but I don't know. I could not speak on behalf of the property owner if that is ultimately something that she would want. If you do limit it to one, if Peachtree moves out and another business that isn't life counseling comes in, then they have to come back in front of you all to permit a new business inside of there.
Exactly. That's what I was looking at.
Okay, if that's all right with y'all.
We've closed the public hearing. Wait just a minute. I'm not opposed to leaving it as requested. I just don't want to tie our hands, because if we impose conditions on the applicant, certain conditions more than what we've talked about here, then that goes with the next business owner that comes in that may not be running or operating the same type of business.
So best for them to have to come back. Without have another business come in with similar, they would have to come back and tell them.
Either that or comply with the zoning that it presently,
That is correct.
that is current. It is unless we put a condition. We can add that condition to it has to be. I think she wants the fence in it for, I think it'd be the most appropriate. And I think she wants that.
With children,
Question from to that age group from 2 to 12. Safeties.
During the wintertime.
I'd like to open, the public hearing back up. Does anybody have a problem with me opening the public hearing back up?
No,
Motion with
no,
the public hearing.
All right, yeah, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, would the applicant come back up? Yep. I want to talk to her, that's something lighting. I want to talk about her lighting and any type of landscaping and
I'd also like to hear from the, take another look
Property
at
owner.
property owner.
While she's coming back up, I will note that this was the recommendation for the West Gilbert, or the West Gilbert for the hair salon. It was essentially that we limited the use to the primary single-family dwelling, the beauty salon and accessory dwelling unit, and the attached dwelling unit as well. And that was essentially that is only allowed on this property.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Outside lighting, let's talk about this. If you're gonna go from 1 to 6, you won't have a problem in the wintertime. I mean, the summertime, you will. In the wintertime, it's gonna be dark. Are you planning on installing any more additional lights on the building, the property that's already existing?
No, so we have a procedure where if it is dark, the kids are not going outside. So they are only able to go outside during sunlight and then in particular, weather conditions.
And at no time, nobody spends the night over there.
No, sir. No, we spend enough time with them during the day, going home.
Thank you. And Cameron, if you will, pull that site picture back up.
And just as a point of emphasis, I believe somebody pointed this out, I believe Elizabeth did, that this is from 2023. But I will note, and it might even be something that the property owner would have to attest to, but there is some flood lighting out there at the front entranceway.
I'm okay with that flood. I just don't want it to look like an industrial park down
Yeah.
here, all bright light and all the neighbors start calling.
Totally understand. You're talking about like if they were planning on adding.
Planning on adding light,
Yeah, I
there's
got
no
you.
problem with what I see there. Ma'am, I think you had another question you wanted to ask. Thank you, ma'am, for coming back up.
I just want to make sure that I understand what's happening here. This property is zoned B3, period. It allows for everything in B3 to happen to it. What we're asking for this evening is a conditional rezoning for this business only to be allowed to do life counseling in this B3. And under no circumstances am I thinking that we'll never be allowed to have any other business here except for a life counseling thing. I mean, I have already vetted out all the vape shops and all the convenience stores that have come to me wanting this thing. These are good people. They're running a good business that's a benefit to our community. But I don't want to get stuck
Wait.
having a life counseling business only.
You're not stuck with that.
Okay.
We're talking about if she moves out, another life counseling cannot move back into her spot.
That's correct.
Without coming back before us. The
Exactly.
condition's only just for that one business, not all of B3.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. That's all.
I have one more question for you.
Yes.
If you would pull back up the site or the,
Also, under that whole area there where the grass is gravel underneath that grass because it was Robinson's grocery store many years ago, and that was all a big parking lot. So it's very hard to dig and plant anything
Yeah,
in there. I'll
very
just tell you
difficult to
that.
put
That's
the
why. it's
rezoning sign out there.
Mhm.
It's hitting a lot of rock.
Mhm.
and tell me your name again, please.
Janet Eckelbarger.
Janet Eckelberg. Ms. Eckelberg, do you also own the property just to the left? What would that be, Cameron?
I believe.
North?
She mentioned she owns.
She owns the
Yes, I
building and the one beside it, the
So
rental.
you
property.
own 415?
No, she owns
That one I do not. No, that's
413 and 411 she owns, right?
that whole apartment complex right there, the industrial building, the old mill, and then the old grocery store.
Okay, good. That was one of our standard questions. Have you talked to the neighbors? So apparently you're the neighbor and you approve.
I approve. I want these people here. This is going to be a real good business for our town and something we don't have, you know?
That's what I want to know.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you for coming back up.
thank you.
All right, I'm gonna close the public comment meeting again and open back up for any discussions. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion and I would direct whoever makes that motion to look at the stipulations in the packet.
So just so I'm correct here, and the understanding, I think where this is headed is you're essentially agreeing to the allowing the B3 uses with the inclusion of the life counseling. But if they were to move out and another life counseling use separate from them wants to come in, they're coming back to you all?
Well, if they changed in any form or fashion, because the conditions are imposed on one business.
Okay.
So if a new life counseling comes back in, I would think it would be most appropriate to come back before.
Yeah, I don't know if that would, because whenever you're allowing, the condition is that you're allowing the use of life counseling, they would not have to come back here for another use of that's similar to a life counseling. Essentially, this is just a very wide span text amendment that is putting in life counseling into the B3 uses, essentially what they're requesting with the allowance of potential conditions for site-specific things. That's just how I'm looking at it currently.
This particular business, though, the request is for a life counseling, so we should have been doing a text amendment than actually doing a rezoning.
Yeah, so that was also floated around. We gave the applicant the rundown of what they could do to get their use approved inside of there. It was either do a rezoning to a B2 where life counseling is permitted, write a text amendment that allows for life counseling to go inside of the B3 district, or a conditional rezoning, which essentially is doing the same, but allows you all to potentially review it and impose conditions that you see fit on the property. But the way I'm seeing it is that whenever you allow for the use of life counseling to be included on this property and that's approved, you can't get another life counseling use that's not them if they want to come back in front of you all because it's already approved for that use to be on the lot.
But the use was with a specific condition. So she says she's gonna have 4 to 6 clients in the morning session, potentially in 4 to 6 in the afternoon. She wasn't gonna allow any nighttime in the playground,
Okay.
and they were closing at 6 o'clock. So the next one that comes in is gonna be open to 10 o'clock. How are you circumventing it?
I think it just falls under that realm of life counseling and what that definition imposes. I mean, I'm
Well,
open
then-
to other thoughts associated with it, but from my realm of thinking, if you allow a use inside of there, it's the same thing if you allowed the inclusion of a convenience store, and they meet your conditions, another convenience store could come in and do the exact same thing. The same thing for a residential site. If you approve a residential conditional rezoning that has a specific site plan that's shown, they have to come in there and build the exact same thing. So I guess, I mean, I see where you're coming from essentially is imposing the list of conditions that this is the only type of life counseling use that is going to be allowed inside of there.
That's right.
They want to be a family therapy or I guess, more of an adult-oriented counseling service, you would say that would need to come back in front of you all. I kind of see where you're coming from now.
Cameron, let me see if I can narrow it down just a little bit. If we put a motion out that says it's going to incorporate all of these conditions which are in the request,
Yes, sir.
would that not narrow it down so that if another life counseling service came in and wanted to occupy that building, would that not prohibit them since it is all of these conditions would be applicable to that one zoning?
I think that's fair. I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding where y'all are coming from as well. So if you essentially said this is the condition list that's going to be approved here, with the inclusion of all the other B3 uses, so it doesn't handcuff Ms. Eckelberg back there to this specific use, then that's fine with me if it's fine with y'all.
That was what you were driving at?
Right. I mean, I think there's a way to get this approved, but I don't want us to open the door up that she's calling her business a life counseling business. So a substance abuse counselor comes in here and wants to utilize that building to treat substance abuse, and it's within 1,000 feet of a church.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
couldn't be- So then we run into that problem. So that's what I'm trying to say is I think there's a way to make this happen. I think the most appropriate way would have been the text amendment.
But then you're getting to the same thing of where we're at. If we were permitted text amendment, that would allow that whole bubble of life counseling inside of there, or you're defining their exact type of use that's not life counseling. Because if they write a text amendment and you say life counseling is now approvable in the B3 zoning district, this is hypothetical because there might actually be something for substance abuse that is not permitted inside the B3, or the life counseling aspect. You open that realm up to not just their type of life counseling, but the life counseling of behavioral adults or anything along those lines of marriage counseling, anything else that's more, I guess, I wouldn't say severe, but more intensive use of life counseling, whereas theirs is not. So that's where I'm coming from, is essentially, if you're permitting the life counseling, it is a whole bubble that you're approving inside of there. But if you approve life counseling only specific to the conditions that they have provided, that should likely be sufficient. That essentially, if you were going to bring a life counseling in here, you have to abide by everything that the Peachtree Learning Collaborative stands by. And you cannot go 6:01, 6:02, 5:59. You guys stay up until 6 o'clock.
Unless they come back before.
Correct. Yes, sir.
I'm good with
I'm
that.
followed.
I think that would be the best way to go.
Elizabeth?
Y'all understand what I'm saying? To include all of these conditions.
Oh, absolutely.
If we include all of these conditions as is, are they going to have to come in here if they decide to change their business hours to 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.? Because that's their business hours are in here. If they decide to have 8 employees instead of 7, are we saying that they are gonna have to come back and get permission to do that? If that's if this
we're not-
exact site, this
we're-
exact plan that they're giving us is the condition, that's my concern.
We're not gonna use we might use the hours from 8 to 6. It can be open with, I wasn't
Okay.
gonna use the clients.
Okay,
the number of
we keep
clients.
saying these conditions. I just want to make sure we're not saying every single sentence in this
No.
condition list is what we're holding them to.
That is more or less, I guess, where I was coming from as well.
That's my
There's a
concern.
long
Yeah.
list of things, and we do have specific administrative amendments to allow for them to alter, but
Right.
a lot of those are specific more or less to residential type things, and small, very minor operations. But when it comes down to the operations of things that you all have specifically permitted, it's likely gonna have to come back up here. Like I said, if they want to change to 6:01, they're gonna have to come back in front of you all to get that extra minute, which seems crazy, but that's unfortunately how it has to go.
And I think that I would go ahead and give some leeway on the time. I would go ahead and give some leeway on the time.
Yeah.
To, when I say some leeway, maybe to 8 o'clock, from 8 to 8. That would give her a couple more hours if she wanted to stay later without violating anything that was approved by the board.
Yeah.
I don't want to put a specific number of clients that she can have, by no means. I don't want to limit her growth at all.
Exactly.
So I'm all learning, so bear with me. Last
Oh,
question.
that's fine.
Are we
that's fine.
able to limit the condition to applied behavior analysis therapy? Which would then prevent us from having substance abuse disorder come in. It would prevent us from allowing
That's a good-
any
that's-
broad bucket of counseling. We can say if we want to move forward, the condition is the only other business allowed within is those doing applied behavior analysis therapy.
That's a good idea.
And you could limit it to serving children if we would like.
I don't know, because she said she was gonna have adults there too. That's a good
I
idea.
think to 18.
18,
Yeah, so
So I
I
guess
think,
that would
18.
technically be adults, so I don't.
so, no, I
want them
think that's
to limit.
more than appropriate.
Just to address Elizabeth's point for a moment, I understand what you're saying and I'd agree with it, but I don't want us to have so much leeway is that they could be there till 10 o'clock at night or later. There's some leeway, but with that leeway is, we don't want to have people there at 10 o'clock or midnight.
But-
Might happen. Plus the fact, total staff on site, 3 to 7, that's leeway there, typical daily staff, 4 to 6. It's a small building. It's not gonna take, the building doesn't have the capacity. It's, so there is some merit, I think, in imposing these conditions. I mean, you've written the conditions, she's written the conditions for what she's seeing right now, not particularly for growth, because the building just doesn't have a whole lot of growth potential.
I think it's fair to say that Elizabeth stated like the ABA type of counseling is the only life counseling with the limit of the time. And I think, that is kind of where you are leaning towards. So the condition would be to only allow that type of life counseling and limit the hours of operation until 6 or 7 o'clock at night, whatever y'all would deem. And I think that kind of hits all y'all's points, correct? Because you seem to be fine with the number of people, because you're saying that you can't have but so many people inside a 1,400 square foot building. So if those are only two things that you're kind of hitting on, I think y'all got it, so.
I don't think the number of clients that you'll have will ever interfere with anything that we're talking about anyway. You've
Correct.
got room to grow. I don't want to confine her to that time from 8 AM to 6. I'd rather give her a little bit more time.
You can get, what about 7? Because then sometimes a parent late picking up their child. You know
No,
what
I-
I'm saying? And
yeah.
you don't want to lock them in and they go to, that kid, the parent don't get there to 6:30 to pick up their child. You know,
I'm sitting here, I was thinking 7:30 to 8 o'clock.
Okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
That sounds good.
I'm okay
And
with
still,
that.
she can still do appointments on the weekends.
Correct, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
During that time frame of on the weekends from 7:30 to 8 o'clock, she can have all the appointments that she can fit in her schedule. I'm just I want to help you as much as I can, Do you see anything else? Chad, you okay? Yeah.
Two questions. Can we look for the definition of life counseling as it's written in the UDO?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to piggyback on what Elizabeth is working toward. And Dean is working towards, what
Yeah.
the board is trying to accomplish. Let's see where the UDO says specifically.
So UDO defines life counseling as counselors working with individuals or groups providing counseling and education in a non-residential setting.
But doesn't address anything about the minor children, doesn't address anything about the substance abuse or the more intense
That's why I said it's,
concern we're working on.
So if we go with Elizabeth's, what she said, behavioral analyst, BCBA and RBT, is that correct?
It's ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis Therapy.
If we go with that, that pretty much puts it to
Should we ask the applicant if that is exactly what the state licensure?
I don't have a problem. We'll open it back up. Come back up, please. Thank you. I just want to get it on the
We just
record.
like talking to you.
I just want to get it on the record. What is your actual license with the state of North Carolina? What,
Okay, so here's the tricky part, okay? So the certification board, that's the BACB, Behavior Analysis Certification Board. I am certified to provide the service. The North Carolina Licensing Board of Applied Behavior Analysis licensed me to practice in North Carolina. So I have both. I can give you guys a copy of. any
no,
of the
no,
form.
no.
Okay.
We just want to make sure that we are putting the right credentials down.
Putting in the right stuff.
So
Yeah.
to clarify, when you, like, if you're telling someone what you are practicing, are you practicing applied behavior analysis therapy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that can,
That answers-
falls within exactly what you.
Mr. Hubbard, I think you were going to say something about.
does that ability allow you to treat someone who has a substance abuse problem that is highly violent,
No.
or is it?
So my area of expertise is children and young adults. I wouldn't work with anyone with substance abuse.
We understand that, but the following life counseling bucket, assuming you stay there 10 years, or 20 years, but there's maybe 6 months later, a different life counseling. We want to make sure that the definition we apply to this particular case protects the surrounding neighborhood.
will you, and this, I don't even know if I can ask, but like what do the acronyms stand for again? If you'll kind of,
So it stands for Applied Behavior Analysis.
okay.
Yes.
Go off of Mr. Hubbard's question. I think, Chu, what we're trying to get at, what are you allowed to, within that therapy,
Yes.
what are people allowed to practice outside of what you're doing there? Is there anything else that people can practice within that?
Yes, we can practice anything. It's the study of human behavior. So we develop behavioral intervention plans. So we work on help training them build new skills and new behaviors. So there can be a behavior analysis that their expertise is in substance abuse.
Is ABA only specific to children with autism as well? Okay.
It's open to everybody.
Is your specialization, is that autism or is it?
Yes, it's autism. Yes.
Thank you for the education.
Yes, no problem.
So let me make sure before she sits down.
Okay.
So there could be substance abuse
She said
under
under her license,
under her license.
she could do that, but that wasn't what her specialty was.
I think you could easily just say no aspects of substance abuse or anything like that be included in your
Right.
condition.
It's real simple,
Yeah.
real easy and simple. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have we missed anything?
No, should I sit in the front? Yeah, I'll sit in the front.
You come on up here and sit with us.
I would love to.
Thank you. Okay. Well, this has been a pretty interesting proposal here. Any further questions, any further discussion? Presentation. We're gonna let you make this motion.
Ooh, okay.
Now I'm gonna let Mr. Wood.
Okay, I was like,
Make sure we get your
okay.
clauses in.
let's
Y'all,
see.
y'all listen real carefully and help me with this. Right, I'd like to make a motion that this request be approved pursuant to the staff recommendation listed on page 4.4. Zoning property would be consistent with the suburban residential land use areas and consistent with the policies 2.1.1, 2.1.6, and 2.3.2 as put forth by the Graham 2035 Comprehensive Plan with the following conditions. The conditions that are stated, requested by the petitioner as listed in the staff report with the addition of the fence, and then what else?
The verbiage, verbiage that Elizabeth wants in. Verbiage that she was talking about with the,
If you want to take a step back as well, I mean, if we want to actually like write this thing out and I guess get it in a clear, consistent discussion as well, I mean, I think that'd be beneficial as well, because even when we're talking about all the conditions that are listed inside of the plan, I want to make sure, again, that we're not necessarily holding them to that, as we talked about before as well, which, I mean, I don't think there's a problem with what you said, but I think for, we're trying to be specific for the whole ABA thing. Like, let's make sure that we're listing this out so we can provide accurate.
Yeah, was it the APA thing and then the hours
Mhm.
of operation?
And the
So-
fence.
Are we looking for just autism-related therapy at this point?
what she's asking for.
That's totally up to y'all.
Yeah, that's her
Okay.
question.
That the therapies be listed to autism-related issues and the hours of operation be changed from allowed 7:30 to 7:30 AM to 8 PM.
Appointment only on
And by appointment only on the weekends, as it states there, within those hours. That cover it?
that's got everything. Elizabeth, that cover you? Or you want some more specific language in?
Speak up.
I just think I would prefer to say applied behavior analysis and then exclude the substance abuse disorder, then limit it to just autistic services. Only because there may be children that fall outside of the autism range that do have something on that they have medically that is diagnosed that they may want to treat that is not technically considered autism. And once again, we would then have to ask them to come back to ask to treat that patient. So I know the substance abuse is where we're having that issue. And I think if we can say applied behavior analysis therapy, however you want to word, but no substance abuse disorder, excluding substance abuse disorder. No to that, but I would just like to make it a little
So it would
clearer than
be-
autism.
Therapies provided would be for autism,
For applied behavior analysis
behavior
therapy,
analysis,
excluding any
excluding
therapy related to
any
substance
therapy
abuse.
related to substance abuse.
All right. Sounds
That
good.
got it?
Mm-hmm. Kelly, can you
Got
read that back to us? All right.
You had to come out for this tonight, didn't you?
Got the
I think you
Yes,
said the,
that's the first thing.
Okay,
you
all
want.
right.
the fence was first and then last.
Oh, right, I was gonna say.
I
you
just
got
want to
the-
make sure we got the fence in.
Right, the 30 by 20 by 30
Okay.
by 6 feet tall.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay,
Yeah, but we went around and then we went back, so I just want.
Yeah, that might be my
Okay.
fault.
we have a motion and, is any further discussion? All right.
Got a second?
No.
I'll second the motion. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry it took us so long to get there, but we want to make
Yeah,
sure
we
that
got
you're able to operate. Thank you. I hope you have a
Yeah,
good look.
we actually do listen to our constituents.
Uh-oh.
We try.
Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
Sometimes we get confused, but Lord knows we try.
Right. Cameron,
Nice job.
I've lost my first page in my
You're good.
stack of papers. Let's go to, we got a
Hey,
third one over there
Steve,
on the
80.
accessory dwellings.
Yes, sir, of course. So at the previous city council meeting, in, I think it was January, a citizen, attended the previous council meeting and requested that the city explore, the idea of adding in language addressing accessory dwelling units. A language was drafted by staff based on previous discussions associated with accessory dwelling units, and that's essentially what you have in red in front of you. And the staff member, or not a staff member, but the citizen that came to the city council meeting is also in the crowd with us tonight. So this isn't necessarily a public hearing, but I don't think that there would be any issue with him coming up and speaking if need be, so. But yeah, essentially all the verbiage has been drafted and provided to you all. It may look a little familiar because this was pretty much not copy and paste, but a lot of similar things that have came before. There's been discussion surrounding whether or not any accessory dwelling unit language has been approved by the General Assembly. It turns out that there is not any currently. There was one that was tried to be passed in 2023, but it got killed essentially at some Senate committee hearing. And they currently have Senate Bill 495 lingering around, but it's kind of in that same state of kind of being passed back and forth and is trending in the same path. So this essentially text amendment would allow for accessory dwelling units to encompass on pretty much any residential lot here inside the city of Graham, subject to the specifics of the notes inside of here.
We talked about this a couple of years ago, and I don't know, maybe it's only three of us here. Everybody else is new. Chad might have been involved 2 years ago. Chad was involved 2 years ago. And I see a lot of the same stuff that we talked about then is still here today. One of my concerns were that if you're designating that they have to have a separate water and sewer hookup.
Yes, sir. So if you look at section N, it discusses for lots where primary dwelling is connected to water and sewer service, then both the primary and accessory dwelling shall be connected to municipal water and sewer service, and each shall have its own separate water, sewer, and electrical meters. Lots with septic system shall consult with the Alamance County Environmental Health to determine the septic system can accommodate the accessory dwelling unit in addition to the primary dwelling.
I want to know why we're pushing that extra tap. It's one lot.
Yeah.
And it's already got a water and sewer tap on it, and we're going to push them to spend $6,000 to put in another water and sewer tap.
Yep, totally understand. I think that's why this is included on here to initiate discussion. And there's another reason why I brought the Senate bill along with me of drafted language. And essentially, Senate bill states that is proposed, it's not been approved by any means, is that it would require the city to not allow for them to install a new meter. If the current capacity load for the private tap connection could serve
Mhm.
the accessory dwelling unit, then they would be able to be allowed to have that ability to connect to it privately. But I think that capacity piece of it is definitely the most important that you would like to include inside of there, is if there is sufficient enough capacity to serve that unit based on the private connection, then it's fine.
What about the, I read in here also that, how are we gonna enforce rentals, short-term rentals? Who's gonna enforce that?
And so that was another one that was tossed in there just for more or less discussion piece. Because prior to the drafting of this, there was really no language regarding some of this stuff. I know long-term rentals didn't seem to be an option, an issue. Of course, now with the ordinances that have been passed, all short-term rentals are required to get a zoning permit here through the city. And essentially that would how the enforcement would apply is they would, if they did not have it, they would receive a violation and then just have to fill out a zoning permit here with us.
Okay.
But of course, as it states inside of here, it mentions that there shall not be any aspect of it. So I understand where you're coming from, that if they are having short-term, how exactly we're going to enforce that.
Manufactured homes. I know what the definition of a manufactured home is,
Mhm.
but I want to make sure that we're on the same page with you. Are you talking about a double wide?
I'm talking about, yes, sir, anything that meets our definitions of manufactured homes being,
Wheel and car title?
yes, sir, any mobile home. So the difference between manufactured and
And mod-
modular homes is there's two different. Modular is
North
like your
Carolina Building
stick-built
Codes.
off home and is still considered single-family residence by NC building codes for single family. So if they had a modular accessory dwelling unit, that would be approved. But if it was a mobile home, no, sir.
So the current rate in tiny homes,
Mhm.
where would that be classified? Modular?
No, sir,
Or
that is,
manufactured?
oh, well, it's, as long as it meets NC single family building code, it's classified as single family. So that is currently where we're at, and the city only permits for single family dwellings. So if the tiny home did not meet the criteria for NC single family, it would not be permitted and would likely have to be taken into consideration with maybe a manufactured home, I'd imagine.
Right, I'm seeing a lot of advertisements for things like Tesla tiny homes
Mhm.
or these Chinese,
Like the ones you can get off Amazon or something like that.
Mhm.
Facebook, Amazon, they're all over the place.
So the unfortunate part is they're gonna have to get a building permit through us, in order to put these things out there. I mean, if they get the building permit and they have something like that, that's just prefab brought in that you can fold up and do everything, it might not meet single family building code, which we can't approve.
But if it's under $30,000, does the city still require, or is it $40,000, city still require a building permit? So if I want to build a building in my backyard over there and a 20 by 20, if I got to come get a building permit
That
from the
is
city to
correct.
build
I
that?
believe Ms. Jolly may be able to answer. It's
Mm.
12 by 12?
Yeah.
Is it 12 by 12? And I think
Oh,
those
I
are
wonder
just
if you know.
for, and those are just for storage buildings.
Right.
Like I think if it's any aspect of dwelling, any size, you're having to come through here to the city because there's water, sewer, electric hookups that have to be reviewed or not reviewed, but inspected by the staff out there.
I also seen that there was another section in here, and I'm just briefly, I've read it 2 or 3 different times and didn't write my notes down like I should have. I think it said in here, no storage building could be used as an accessory dwelling. Is that correct?
Do you know
J-
which,
Jay.
J?
Yep.
Oh, gosh, let me find it. Manufactured homes, shipping containers, RV, temporary structures, storage buildings, and similar structures shall not be permitted to become ADUs. So that's
Right.
essentially what it says. I mean, I think it just, and that might have been something that was discussed previously as well. I think just from the aspect of a storage building, that is a storage building. Now, if you could upfit that storage building to meet single-family building code, then it's no longer a storage building.
I think you already have them in the city that are being utilized that way. And I mean, I'm sure, I know it'd be a non-conforming use.
Yeah.
If this was to pass,
Mhm.
it would be a non-conforming use, but I just noticed that that was in there and I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here trying to push this through because I think the legislature have got something on the agenda to not allow accessory buildings. So what would you do on a third of an acre lot? And how would it meet setbacks on a third of an acre lot? So if we do something like this, I think we need to consider a square footage of the lot because we did consider a square
Mhm.
footage of the house.
Yeah.
It can only be 50% of the original dwelling. The size of it could only be 50% of the original dwelling.
Mhm.
So I think we originally talked about on lot sizes, it had to be an acre or a half acre or more.
Yeah, I believe that was something that was maybe even included at the city council level. Whenever they had the discussion about it, and it got tabled and moved back, was I think that's what they were saying is anything that's an acre is the only thing that's allowed to have it. As for, like I said, you're talking about getting ahead of these things, but if something like this does get passed, the Senate bill does, we're eventually going to have to rewrite everything potentially to what their standards are, which essentially states that any lot inside the city or any municipality has to allow for accessory dwelling units. I think that one thing that we do have the ability of currently is the setback requirements, which is essentially stating that the accessory dwelling unit has to meet the setback requirements that is required for a normal single-family structure. Whereas, sometimes with accessory buildings per se, you're talking about they're only 5 feet off the rear and side property lines. And I think there's something else in here that essentially states you can't push it past the front line of the existing building as well, which is also something that we don't permit for any other type of accessory buildings either. But yeah, as for your non-conforming question, I think there is something inside of here that addresses the non-conformings is if they're currently out there and they don't meet our requirements, then yeah, they're grandfathered non-conforming uses. And if they are subject to change, then they must meet our non-conforming standards of our development ordinance.
I'll take a break and allow somebody else to ask some questions. I got.
So
some more, but-
just so, because I'm going to try and keep a little bit of track of this as well, so we can kind of, have discussion. You mentioned potentially the 1 acre of the maximum lot size or minimum lot size. You talked about water taps and sewer taps be able to be essentially off of the existing structure. But I mean, I guess you would still want to leave the option in there if they do want to have an extra meter, they can do that, which is fine.
I'm not opposed to that, but what I just, if we're gonna approve something like this, let's don't hinder
Yeah, for sure.
someone from being able to utilize the water meter to, if they think it's adequate for them and they can get by with their 3/4 tap.
Mhm.
I think we shouldn't hinder them if we're gonna approve something
Yes,
like
sir.
this. And add that unnecessary expense.
Yeah.
Now, does it bolster and build our water and sewer plant and help there? It does.
Mhm.
But for the impact fees of actually installing. But it's the same amount of water is going to be used, whether it comes through 1 meter or whether it comes through 2 meters. The second thing is in here, there was another thing that talked about addresses.
Yes.
Why do we want to assign another address to the same parcel of land? Because it can't be off the same parcel. Why do we want to try to assign another address?
I think that's specifically for probably emergency service purposes. If there's a building in the back, I think every single family dwelling or any type of dwelling is going to have an address associated with it.
It's still one parcel of land.
But it's a separate building. It's the same thing. You could say the same thing for townhomes or even multifamily developments. I mean, all of those have to have their own specific addresses associated with them, even though they're on a single lot.
So are you saying a detached garage would have to have an address?
The what again?
A detached garage on someone's property, they got a house and a detached garage, and are you saying it should have another address? That's
Not necessarily, sir, because it's not classified as a dwelling anymore. If it's a detached garage or an attached garage that has no aspect of, address or use of dwelling aspects, it's not going to have any bit of an address from our 911 services, probably from the fire department.
Look, it's hard enough to get an address for a piece of property to begin with. And not saying so in the city, but in the county, I've got some property here in the county, and because I don't have a house on it, or at the time didn't have a permit from the environmental
Yep.
health for a septic system, the county didn't want to give me an address for a 20-acre tract of land.
I think that is based on their standards. I think we adhere to all that stuff inside the city of Graham here too. All of our addressing comes from the county. It comes from Katie Harper.
Yep.
In my relationship with Katie Harper, she's been relatively responsive to getting addresses for new homes, also for reviewing plats for subdivisions. I think, she does a relatively good job over there of getting those addresses addressed. I mean, Debbie works with her a lot as well. But I think addressing really just boils down to the requirement from probably the fire department and public safety. Same thing as if they're required to have, if they do have a new meter out there, or what if they're getting new trash cans? Those trash cans are going to be tied to an address as well. So
Yeah, I'm gonna let him talk. Mhm.
So, suggestion maybe if you're talking about an additional address to the same piece of property, for instance, say it's 100 Border Street,
Mhm.
and you have another dwelling on that same property, you would have 100 Border Street A and 100 Border Street B.
it depends on what the county would address it. Yes, sir. That
They
totally.
won't do that anymore.
We don't have any impacts over the addressing here inside the city of Graham. It would all boil down to what the county requires with their addressing.
I agree with a lot of what we're talking about, but here's a good prime example. My address on Moore Street, I've got one address there is 483, and I've got another address that's right beside my parcel that used to be my parcel, that's 586.
Mhm.
Police are never gonna find it. 483 and 586, and they're side by side.
Yes, sir.
We're creating a nightmare.
Okay, I understand. Like I said, I'm just providing y'all with the information of what staff is deemed to be, I mean, not necessarily appropriate, but things that should be discussed in regards with this. I don't know if you all feel that the addressing requirement is not necessary inside of here. I would just make a suggestion that you include that in your motion, whether to approve or deny, to include or remove it.
Okay, thank you for that, but what I'm really getting at is something that's already, the city is pretty much built out.
Yeah.
And we're talking about adding on a lot, not a lot, another dwelling on the same property. So when Katie Harper has the problem over there getting an address close by, it's gonna create a nightmare for our police department, fire department, because let's just use Webster Road.
Yeah.
There's no other land on Webster Road, so all the addresses are gone on Webster Road. So now when you go in there and somebody at the first of Webster Road, which might be 231, and Webster Road might go to 600 block,
Mhm.
she comes in there and she gives you an address of 550 and you're 231, the police will never find it. It's something that we need to, that's something that if it's going to be considered by council, if council is going to approve it, that we need to address that factor because it's going to be a big problem. Everybody uses a cell phone now. Everybody don't have a landline where it shows up. So when you call 911, your cell phone shows up, and yes, they can ping your phone and show you where you're at, but physically, can they tell you that you're at 586 West Moore Street versus 483?
I don't know. I think it's definitely beneficial to have an address to tell somebody rather than say, don't know where I'm at because this building doesn't have an address.
Does the city have any input on A, B, C, and D?
No, sir, because it's all through the county.
So that's where I think the problem is gonna be. If you could label it as 483A, 483B,
Mhm.
yeah, okay, you can find that.
Yes, sir. Totally
But-
understand.
That's one of my big concerns.
Yes, sir.
I've talked
And-
enough for 10 minutes. Let somebody else have it. Sure. I'm gonna get the gentleman in the back too. Ricky, do you wanna?
I can answer a couple of your address questions. That's how I used to do it for the county. The reason a new address.
Get you to use the mic, sir.
The reason a new address has to be assigned is by Duke Energy. They require every address meter has to have its own address. That's the reason. And for the alphabetical characters, the US Postal Service does not allow alphabetical characters anymore. They did away with them. That's the reason they did away with mailboxes on the side of the road and started making people put in gang boxes. So they actually have a physical address.
Well, with that response of you saying just the letters A, B, and C?
Yes, sir.
So if it was 100 border, now it's 100-1 border.
No.
Can't do that.
So the only other thing that they physically could do is do a gang box at the driveway. Take the first physical number and do a gang box of whatever. All right.
My question is, with what you guys are proposing, how will it affect subdivisions who have covenants? We do not want this in any subdivision that has a covenant.
That's another good question, because how would that be enforced?
So
If it was approved, how would that be enforced, Cameron?
Because if you set the precedence, it goes beyond what the covenants, the city takes precedence over the covenants.
So there was something, and of course, I don't know why it's not inside of here, but there was something essentially that stated, I thought that was included on here.
It is.
It is? Okay, I was about to say, because I essentially pulled this from the state statute, and it says, nothing in this section shall apply to any of the following: the validity or enforceability of private covenants or other contractual agreements among property owners related to dwelling type restrictions, your natural HOAs. If your HOA covenants say that you can't have an accessory dwelling unit, that trumps everything inside of our development ordinance.
Okay.
Thank you.
Where's that?
Sir, I've seen you, you've been here quite a while. Are you here just for this, what we're talking about? Okay, good. I'd like to hear from you too. You want to come up and put some input in here? And we might answer some of our questions, or it might lead us to something different. State your name.
Todd Mundy, 1624 Granada Lane here in Graham. So, yeah, I've just kind of been hanging out, listening to you guys. I appreciate you guys have this discussion. I came last month and spoke with them. We have, we're down Rogers Road and we have about 6 acres, just under. We're looking at building a cottage for our son. He and his fiance are getting married in June. And so we were looking at building a cottage. And I talked to these guys about permitting and you can't. We weren't allowed to build another home. And you brought up like shed homes, and that's kind of what we're looking at doing. We have cottage plans. We are going to have it's Liberty Sheds. They're going to actually custom build it for us. They're not going to bring it in a truck, and then we're just going to make it into a perfect home for them. So, and we've looked at the statutes of like the edge of your yard, or for us, kind of our property lines has to be close to, I think, like road frontage. We've looked at that so that they can get, because we have septic with our home, because when we built 10 years ago, the city would not bring us sewage without $40,000 extra. So we put a septic in, and it's done fine, but we would have to have sewer for this house and electricity, all that. So, I mean, we want to make sure that we go by all the standards here. We want to go by all the standards, of course, but, and I don't know if there's a special use or if we could at least get this thing kind of going, but we've just kind of held off everything because we also know people that have a garage 200 feet from their house and there's an apartment there and people live there, all year round. So we're trying to do it the right way. We obviously want to come to you guys and try to get it accomplished. So.
And you're trying to do this without subdividing the land.
Yes, sir. And we looked at that, but it's very expensive to do that. And there's, we know there's going to be expenses. We're just trying to, help them out a little bit. So.
Thank you. I'm glad you was here to give us your input on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Mundy? Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, who wants to take the role and roll on with this? And I'm talking about discuss this further. If you guys got questions, you have.
I've got one question for Cameron.
Yes, sir.
I see short-term rental and long-term rental, but I don't see a definition.
Because those are listed out inside of our development ordinance already.
What are they?
Okay, 1 second.
Bed and breakfast, no.
3 months, 6 months, short-term, is a year short-term? That's the question.
Yeah, so short-term rentals is a furnished dwelling that is rented as a whole for periods of less than 30 days consecutively for compensation. These should be rented for traveling activities, including but not limited to vacation, leisure, recreational, or employment, and not including hotels, motels, boarding homes, or bed and breakfasts. And I think, really the only reason why I included this in here was to initiate discussion, to include probably the highest maybe potential level of regulation over this to see where I guess the ball fell in y'all's court on something like this. So seen it elsewhere where it's not permitted to be any type of rental outside of long-term. And I figured it was worth the discussion. Yes, sir. All of the ones that are listed inside of there are defined by our development ordinance.
Okay, should we refer back to that as defined, or is that just assumed?
Let's see. I think you could definitely refer back to it in regards to let's see. Where
I'm looking for clarification, that's all.
Yeah, no, I'm certainly happy to provide it. Yeah, I think it already says it inside of here. Accessory dwelling units shall not be used for blah, 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 defined by section 10.16 of the City of Grand Development Ordinance.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sure, I'll go.
My telephone don't work.
I know.
I'm gonna ask Elizabeth what she did.
I was getting a little nervous 'cause I was about to speak.
Alien invasion. Aliens. Sounded like it.
I don't know I'm gonna make myself sound young, generationally wise, I think that these have become a lot more prevalent. So I had some fun reading, and these are already allowed in Mebane, in Lexington, obviously, you know, places like Raleigh and Chapel Hill, and I know we don't want to become those areas, but there's a lot of talk of aging in place, aging and allowing your family to come and live with you and be nearby. And I think that's something that I appreciate about this. I do have some concerns. So something I noticed, and I know that we took this language, and I don't know, obviously every municipality is different, but we have attached dwelling units, we have within, or detached within, and a lot of them reference attached dwelling units. So the addition onto a primary dwelling, that would be then considered an ADU. And I don't know how, if that's something that we want to consider or something we want to explicitly state that we're not allowing. If you look at Lexington's, the drawings that they've provided on that would allow people to add on to their actual home and consider that an ADU. And I think that's fairly common across other municipalities. It's not necessarily, it's different than within, because within can be adding a separate entrance. And I think also for me, we don't have any mention of allowing an ADU to be a garage or a studio or a workshop. So that is also something that I'm seeing a lot, is having a garage, a shop on the left, and then the addition of a home on the right. And I think, you know, we keep saying the storage building thing. I want to make sure that that is clarified out, that we're saying you could or could not. I don't know which way, what we feel, but that if someone wants to build storage on the left and a home on the right, we are allowing that.
That's correct. I think the only thing that would have to come into play, it depends on which comes first, I guess, as well, because if the house is there, our accessory buildings, we only permit for like 20% of the rear yard. But that's for any type of accessory building that's on the land. So that would come into play as well for the buildings.
And then I think, I personally find 1,600 square feet to be a very large maximum. Mebane caps theirs at 1,000 square feet. So that's something I would feel more comfortable limiting that maximum probably to 1,200 square feet.
So I'm gonna jump back to your attached, I guess, right? So essentially what you're saying is the way it's currently written inside of here, it should be referenced in a way that is not within a principal single dwelling or attached.
Send you what I read.
Mhm.
The way that they had purported it is, it's, you have within, attached, and detached. So there are 3 separate ADU types. And I just think that it almost came down to the difference in build
Mhm.
and access. And so we say, right, that you're not allowed to have it extend past the front of the home. But when they were doing attached ADUs, you could extend it as far to the side as you wanted, as long as you reach those setbacks.
And you're still meeting the setback requirements for the
Right.
attached one as
I just, they had separated out different from within. So I'll send it to you just for the difference in how they worded within versus attached versus detached.
Yeah, like I said, I think, based on what we've provided here, it's kind of, hitting both of those. I think it's really just boiled down to whatever is attached or within is requiring their own particular entrance into the building that is not subject to the initial or the primary dwelling itself. You know, my thought at least was that they're both kind of in their own, because if it's within or it's attached, that requirement of having your own singular access that is not directly related to the primary dwelling kind of meets that criteria in my eyes.
That's what I thought too. And then I read it and I was like, okay.
Sure, you send it to me, we can take a look at it.
Their own to separate, but
Or you could just say that we're not allowing anything within and it has to be attached.
Let's do the language as proposed first. 10.252.3, item G, 50% of the heated gross floor area with a maximum of 16%. If a home on a certain piece of property is 5,000 square feet and they want to build a modest to scale, slightly smaller, half scale, that's 2,500 square feet. I don't necessarily know where we are in establishing a maximum that a private citizen can do with their land if their land accommodates it. Moving to next section, same section, item J. Manufactured homes, shipping containers, RVs, temporary structures, storage buildings, and similar structures shall not be permitted to become ADUs. Maybe we embellish or did add to the end of that sentence unless they are brought to the standards for North Carolina building codes for single family.
I think that's fair.
Because we're building houses out of shipping containers, we're putting manufactured homes on permanent foundations and
But modular home.
we're putting modular homes on permanent foundations. Item M, I think we already got to the specific definition of short term. It's 30 days, as long as that's referenced in the UDO and maybe incorporated into this by reference so that the next citizen that looks at this immediately knows what short term is defined in the city of Graham.
So you're saying to establish like if beside that short term parentheses 30-day rentals.
Or the reference to the definition of short-term rentals within the city of Graham's UDO, so that if that definition changed, this piece of language wouldn't necessarily have to.
So you don't think, I guess, because it references back to our definition section, where you would then, of course, have to search through that definition section for short-term rentals. I just don't know if there's another way, unless you want to specifically define it inside of this, but then I feel like you'd have to define every single one of
My
them.
mistake. It's defined as tight as we can get it for the average researcher to find.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Item N, I take exception to the ability to enforce additional burden on a homeowner, a mother-in-law, a grandma. If we're trying to provide affordable housing in the framework of that affordability, we would then encumber the potential development with another water meter, another sewer service, and the design that comes into that and the construction of such. So I've had an edit to item N that where capacity would suffice within the city, that those accessory dwelling units could ad hoc or piggyback or continue on with the services provided to the primary structure. However, it is very important to consult with the Alamance County Health Department when there are systems that are served by on-site soils. In the event that those additional bedrooms cause a capacity problem, you would want a professional to look at that. A 4-inch service can handle a lot of sewer. A 6,000 square foot septic field in a 3 or 4 bedroom house is about all you're going to get. So I think we need to edit item N.
Yes, sir. Totally understand that. I think that's feasible.
Section 10.252.4. This is where we're inside the structure.
Yeah.
I still think that the 50%, 1,600 square feet, it's none of our business.
Yes, sir. I think that's y'all's prerogative.
And then now that we've addressed the specific language or the way this piece would be written, there are a lot of historical references, at least in my short time on the earth, where many bright people were raised in an accessory dwelling unit. And many families were able to survive because of that. I can take personal examples of citizens within a 100-mile radius of the chambers that are able to survive in a storage shed because they don't have a better place to live. I can personally attest to some of the most brilliant people living in substandard housing, what we as citizens of Graham would consider substandard housing. So in no way want to encourage that. But I do think that the ability for a private property owner to build an accessory dwelling unit, since we've given it a name, or a place to live for an additional member of their family or for a tenant that may provide income, if that can be accomplished in a way that doesn't violate an existing deed covenant, an existing neighborhood covenant, and it doesn't endanger or burden either the private water and sewer system for that given lot or the public system that serves it through the city, then that ought to be left to the private property owner. And then I'll pause there for Tony's opportunity.
I'm okay. Finish.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I don't really have much to say at this point. I think, Mr. Huffines covered basically every point that needs to be addressed. My main concern is to be able to provide adequate housing for our seniors. And if a homeowner has a way to provide that on the same property, without having to endure financial hardship to do this, I think we need to address it in a similar terms of what Mr. Huffines said.
I think the comments that have been forthcoming are very, very good, very apt. I would agree with what's been said. I also have concern tell me your name again, please. Yes, Mr. Mundy's comments. 6 acres wants to put a ADU for his family. I see a lot, as I mentioned earlier, of advertisements for these small homes, whether they're the tiny homes on wheels or whether they're manufactured, like the Tesla home. That's an up and coming thing. I think that's going to be a very prominent thing in the days to come, especially with the cost of housing, cost of mortgages and that sort of thing. I'm very much in favor of finding the best way to accommodate not only seniors, but people who are just getting started, that sort of thing. I've often thought of getting some acres, 5, 10 acres, having all my kids there as well. You know, this allow me to do that without subdividing? As it stands, no. I bear the cost of subdividing that property? Probably. I could probably do it. But, that may be a burden for a lot of people. I just think we ought to give consideration for what the market is looking at down the road, not only now, but down the road, in the ways that we can not hinder people's getting good housing, as Chad has commented. I've seen that same thing, Chad, numerous cases. I think what we can do as a board to help encourage good affordable housing. Time well spent. I'm not necessarily, I think I'm in agreement of what's been said, but I think we ought to consider that as well. When it says manufactured home shipping containers, RVs, guys living not inside the city. I know a older couple who's doing just exactly that. He's living in an RV, a big RV, very nice RV, but he's sitting on his son's driveway. Maybe a lot of people who could live comfortably like that. I don't know that I could. I don't know that my wife could, but I don't know that we need to hinder.
Good, if that's all you could afford.
That's exactly right. I don't think we need to be hindering people.
Well, I guess, currently there is that hindrance, right? And that's where we're coming into play with this to remove that some ability, I guess, right? So we can try and tick all the boxes, but what goes through my mind is what you allow on one lot, you have to allow on every other one here inside the city of Graham as
And I
well.
understand the basis from which this is written. I understand that and sympathize with it, but I think a larger concern would be how can we encourage affordable housing?
think this is a step in the right direction. And I think with Chad's addition to that section J, adding on to the end unless brought into standard of the NC Single Family Building Code, that then again allows you to take that storage shed that you may be living in and actually get an address for it, be able to get mail at this location, take your trash out. Now you start to feel like you're actually living inside of a home that's been upfit. So
Exactly. Yeah,
Now,
and I would agree with what Chad added to that wholeheartedly.
I was gonna ask, is the manufactured modular home, they're the same?
Modular is built to North Carolina Building Code.
Right.
A manufacturer is built to HUD code, which is not the North Carolina Building Code.
Cool, okay, that's what I want.
So it's mobile, it's on the frame, it comes with a car title. And once you
So
set it on a
manufacturer's
piece
the
of
HUD.
property and you set it on a permanent foundation, you send the title in,
Okay,
one's a house, one's a mobile home essentially.
essentially.
okay.
I got another question about he's got 6 acres.
Mhm.
I've got 6 acres right over here in Graham. So I put my one accessory dwelling on. Next year I decide I want to go in there and subdivide.
Okay.
I subdivide and now am I entitled to another accessory dwelling?
That's a brand new lot. Yes, sir.
So essentially I could create.
Well, yeah, you would definitely. Yes, thank you, Miss Debbie. I appreciate it. So that,
So I put a $10,000 tiny house out there, $15,000 tiny house, and then I'm entitled to another accessory building.
that's correct.
What are we creating?
It sounds like more
Density?
housing.
So I agree with the affordable housing part of it, but it sounds like density, a
Yeah.
lot of density.
I think if you look at anything inside of our development ordinance, there's ways to get around it in a way that could benefit somebody in that capacity. It definitely takes a clever person looking through our development ordinance to find that way to benefit them, but it just comes with the territory, I imagine. I mean, if you start trying to get into the weeds like that much, you're talking about a lot of things that have to be in place regulation wise that probably need to be addressed on a larger scale with the grand UDO aspect. Because you're talking about subdivision, time of subdivisions, like this whole minor subdivision stuff that we talked about, is that where we're talking about? You can't subdivide until X amount of time, things along those lines. I mean, you're going to put a time restraint. If you do subdivide, you are not allowed to put an accessory dwelling on it for the next 6 years. I mean, that's stuff that you could put in here, but it's really, it's not what the meaning, I guess, of it is.
And I'm not trying to hinder.
Yeah.
But we as government has a tendency to do a lot of overreaching,
Mhm.
in my opinion. We're wanting to require a separate water meter, sewer tap. We're wanting a separate power meter. All that comes with cost.
Yes, sir.
If we're really promoting affordable housing and I've got a 400 amp service over there and I can run another house and it meets the city's inspection when they come out and inspect, why should I be having to put another meter?
And I think that's a totally fair statement. Like I said, it was really only put on there to the highest extent for this discussion to happen. Because if I don't put it on there and the question arises or doesn't get brought up, and then it's after the fact, why didn't we require this?
Gotcha.
So it's easier to come down than it is to go up after the fact. And I think that's more like, I'm totally in agreement with you. And I think that's what the first draft of this essentially said. And that I think it later got reviewed and maybe people wanted to have that extra tap meter and fee associated with it. For what it sounds like, they are going to have another electrical, their own single electrical based on what Mr. Hall was saying, because that's required for their address. But if we can reduce the requirement for water and sewer, then that's one piece of it. I mean, that's not for us over here. So
Why do we have to include you getting another address? That's a requirement. The city don't have to require that.
uh,
If they're gonna run off the same electrical service, the same water service, city don't have to require, so why are we pushing that?
I think it is required. I mean, if you're pulling a building permit,
For them to hook their power up, they have to have an.
You could use my present address. That's what I'm saying. Yes, they will. I've done it numerous times.
You must have full.
No.
What they tell us, we have to have a separate address, all that inspection.
I just got power on that 20 acres the other week and the county wasn't gonna give me an address. I said, okay. I called Duke Energy. They said, well, you gotta have an address. I said, I don't want power, but nothing more than a light out here on my property. I want a light. But they're charging me for the light. I don't have no address. So,
Dwelling unit.
But yeah, because it's a house and we're hooking power to that house. And we're saying that house is safe for them people to move into, so they have to have.
but we're gonna allow that. I understand. I hear you, Ms. Jolly, and I'm not arguing with you, but I hear you. We're gonna allow someone to build a house on a property that already has an address. If I built a shop on my property and I called Duke Energy and I said, hey, I want you to set a meter out here on the side of my shop, they'd come set it. But because we're gonna say that it is a dwelling that someone's gonna live in, they're gonna say, well, no. If I got my permit from the city to build this shop building that I'm talking about, and I wasn't telling you guys I was living in it or nothing like that, and y'all come and inspected my shop and I had my one light switch and one receptacle within 6 feet of the door, Duke would come set a meter there. So that's what I'm thinking is that, have you ever seen that, Chad?
Yeah, I
That-
won't have any trouble getting meters.
I don't wanna delay this Mr. Monday out here, cause I know what he's trying to do. He'd like to get started as soon as he can. But there's questions that need to be answered, and
Okay, so where is the addressing piece in this language? I'm having trouble finding it.
No, you're fine. I think it's,
some of the
the
first.
very last one, M, essentially, it states anyone seeking an accessory dwelling unit in a freestanding, or that's for the freestanding one. Or anyone seeking an accessory dwelling unit in a freestanding structure shall coordinate with the Alamance County GIA addressing and City of Graham Emergency Service to ensure any address to be assigned will work for all agencies.
That's none of our business. That's up
Right.
to the county. We don't even have a,
Dog in that fight.
whether we include him or not include him, is irrelevant because that process has to happen.
That has been my understanding, that if you were building a house and you were pulling a permit, that you have to get an address.
That's
It's
correct.
the same thing if there's a vacant lot and you want to put a house on it, you are reaching out to the Alamance County Department to get an address for that house so we can permit it.
Correct. So to Dean's point, why is that in this ordinance?
Just to let people know. I think it's a reference point to let them know that you have to get it. So that they're not assuming that I can just build this back here and not have to get any emergency services stuff or
It
address.
doesn't say we'll have to get an address. It says you shall coordinate with Alamance County, and that's perfect. Because the county addressing is who's gonna assign the address based on
Mhm.
EMS or based on Duke Energy.
You can put it on your building permit when you apply for it.
I don't think we have to worry about M. I think it's a benign piece that alerts the citizen to get an address when it's applicable.
Talking about two different places. It's O in 255.3 and then
Oh, yeah,
I see.
one's O and one's
Oh,
M.
oh,
One's for
oh,
the
yeah.
interior and one's for the exterior.
Yeah.
Because it's listed on both.
Yeah, it's on both.
Okay, okay.
Because even your interior unit or attached unit is gonna have to have an address for itself too.
So you could leave O and M alone. That would take us to the size or scale, or in most jurisdictions, it would be simply based on lot coverage. How much can the land itself accommodate? The massing of a structure in percentage based on square footage. It's just a tool. You could build a rectangular piece of oddball 3-story structure that grossly outmasses and outscales the primary structure, like a silo in the back of a farmhouse. You see the silo, but you don't necessarily see the house. I think the point is you don't want the accessory dwelling unit to become the primary dwelling unit.
And I think that's where the percentage up to 50%.
And
But
for someone who lives in the Peachtree LLC healthcare house before it became a store, that would have been a 1,100 square foot house before they closed in the front porch.
Mhm.
Well, it's tough to live in a 550 square foot house. I mean, people are doing it nowadays and they call them the tiny home. But the 50% cap on a small house is prohibitive. Whereas the 1,600 square feet cap is arbitrary. However, to Dean's point, you are governing, and there has to be some type of framework. So I'm open to any kind of help here. I'm floundering with the percentages
Yeah,
and the cap,
if,
but they're both necessary.
if I
Were
can.
they quantified correctly? Sorry, Cameron.
No, I was out of turn. But I mean, I'm thinking of like, say for instance, you're on an R7 lot and you have a home that is X amount of size and you have enough area in the rear to build the exact same size home. Is that what this ADU dwelling or this accessory dwelling unit is trying to accomplish, I guess, in y'all's eyes? Because at that point, it's not really an accessory dwelling anymore. It's two single family homes on a single lot. And I think that's where our thought process is, this is just for accessory purposes. This is not for, you can have two family on one lot, and sell them both as is. I think it's just specific to that lot. And that's, like I said, for, you're talking about density and the amount of housing outside of there. As I mentioned earlier, I mean, our storage buildings, we only permit for 20% in the rear yard, but that only encompasses the rear yard. What if they want to put it in the side? So it could be a matter of you're taking just a percentage of lot area that they have outside of there, but that lot area could also constitute that that house is going to be the exact same size as the one that's built out there.
Let's be revolutionary for a second and simplify the language and see where it goes.
Yeah.
The accessory dwelling unit shall not exceed the size of the primary dwelling unit.
I mean, I'm with you there, but that could also be it's 1 square foot less.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And it makes it a secondary structure and let some other board or some other legislator or someone with more knowledge or common sense than I do. But if it's a secondary structure and it's not bigger than the primary structure, then
Hey, guys, I've got another question.
see where it
here.
goes.
When we're talking about the accessory ADUs within a principal single-family dwelling, what's going to be the determining factor that says this is an ADU within an existing building or just in addition to a house?
Certainly. An example at Moore Street and
Think there's because I'm trying to make sure I understand here, because there is, are you talking about like, because we do have,
Okay,
we permit
I've got
duplexes,
a
right?
3,000 square foot house.
Okay.
And I want to add on to that. I've got plenty of room, plenty of land. But in my mind, it's eventually going to be something I can move into and my kids move into my house.
Mhm.
It's going to be what we used to call a mother-in-law suite.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when I build this, what's going to be the determining factor that says that building is going to come under this as opposed to just regular building code?
Whether you want it to be or not. I think that's really what it boils down to, is if you want to have an addition onto your home that is not private to the existing structure inside of there, and it's just an extra area that has no aspects of a separation from the primary dwelling, and it doesn't have another form of access to it, then I think that's essentially what separates it.
If I build this, it's going to have an outside entrance because, it's big and I don't want to have to go all the way through the house to get out. So it's going to have an exterior entrance.
Mhm.
And it could very well be as big as the primary dwelling. Is it going to be, it'd probably have a kitchen in it. Would that be the determining factor?
It would definitely,
Another kitchen. Okay, this is going to be a separate dwelling unit.
yeah, I think it really just boils down to that aspect of separation and whether or not it meets, what does it say inside of here? Its own exterior access, any interior access to the principal dwelling units must be lockable from both dwellings. So, I mean, if you're not providing, I mean, if it's not being used as separate and it's just really being used for your own personal aspect, I don't think it's going to be viewed as an accessory dwelling unit. It's just going to be additional to the home. But if you want to create it as an accessory dwelling unit that's attached, then you could certainly do that by meeting these standards as well.
Doesn't that fall under, how it's connected?
Yeah, I think that's what was mentioned is, if there's a separation between the two and there's a clear intention of separating one family from the next, then yes, sir. I mean, I think that definitely falls.
The definition of the connection. Is
What's
it an
that?
Is it an outdoor corridor with a roof?
From what it says inside of here, it is an outdoor, where is exactly that? Its own exterior access, and any interior access to the principal dwelling unit must be locked from both dwellings. So like I said, if it's,
Which section?
Yeah.
A, B, C,
Yeah.
D, what?
what was that?
What section? that
What
was reading
section?
it From?
What section are you asking me for?
Yeah, what
Um,
alphabetical section?
G, it's in
Thank you,
G,
sir.
G, 10-2-5-4.
Okay, thank you.
We're creating a bunch of duplexes.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing with, creating a bunch of duplex lots.
Creating a bunch of
I
duplexes.
think so. That's fair.
We haven't even talked about the barn dominiums and the.
Right, that's about it.
And I think also the main reason behind pushing for a separate meter and the water is for tax purposes.
I don't think I have any instance over tax purposes. I think,
Well,
like I
I
said,
mean, I'm just
it was literally just,
inside the book there that.
okay, I understand that as well, but
That'd be what the county to me would be pushing this envelope.
the county, yes, sir. Okay, I understand.
What do we need to do to move this along or not move it along?
It's gonna be difficult to move it along tonight, and
Yeah.
we either can send it on to the council and let the council battle with it as he wrote it, or we can try to tackle it, or we can table it. And bring it back next month.
I think it needs some work by us.
I do too.
Had to bring that back.
There's a way to make something work. We just gotta get the best version of it.
Okay. That's what y'all want.
Does anybody disagree with what,
I'm good with that. I think it
Okay.
does need some work.
does anybody think that we should tackle this and take action on it tonight?
So how would you like it to be addressed, I guess, if it needs work? What would you like me to do?
I guess we're gonna have to go through here and pick what we can live with and what we can't live with and see what kind of consensus that we get to move.
So
forward.
I'm asking what you would like to task me to do in regards to this. Is there anything that I can do to currently update it? Or is it all gonna come from your review between now and the next meeting?
I mean, we certainly would love to have your input, but
Yes, sir.
we got your input right here.
And that's pretty much about it. So like I said, I think it's just to have that discussion. So if y'all don't think what I've written is sufficient enough, then you are certainly the board to do that.
I know there is a purpose here, and I think there may be a way to achieve it. But I know that 2 years ago, when it come before, it was a unanimous decision that this board turned it down and kicked it up to the council, and then the council voted it down.
Really?
And then now we're coming back and council's pushing for this to be revisited with no direction.
I don't think there was any push from city council. I think it was a request on behalf of a property owner for city council to assess or have staff take a look at it again. And
I thought it said on behalf of city council.
yeah, from a person of the public, and that city council has requested that staff review and draft something.
There's there's a potential way this could work. We just gotta get to it.
Okay, if y'all feel comfortable with
It's
that.
needed. It's needed. We gotta get to it. But how we gonna get there, I don't know. Cause I mean, I don't agree with a lot of this, and I could strike out a bunch of it right now and
Okay.
say I'm good with the rest of it, but everybody else is gonna have their own, what they can live with and what they can't live with.
That's perfectly fine with me.
I'd like to give the
Just
board,
in the interest of time, I would suggest that we table this evening. And then everybody who's found something that they would like to see changed, write it down, bring it back
bring
next
it back
month,
next month.
and we can iron it out then.
And if you get your stuff done in a timely manner, I'm not saying you have to work on it 20 hours, 4 hours a day. If you would send it to
Yeah.
Cameron, so Cameron could maybe get something typed up where everybody could be reading it.
Just to me, by the way, just to me, not to everybody.
Don't send it out and don't send it back out as a response where everybody sees it. Send it directly to
Yeah,
Cameron
right.
and let Cameron
Right.
send it out.
Happy to do that, ladies and gentlemen.
Throw it all in one package. and
Chairman, I make
put it out.
a motion that we table this item, as discussed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Cameron, let's get this last one.
I'm,
Okay.
I'm on y'all at this point. I don't think I have to address anything. Yeah, I don't think you'll be.
Miss Jolly, could you stay the rest of the night with us? No, I'm sorry, send him, so the wording already be there. All right, Mr. Wooten. don't
Thank you,
start.
Mr. Mundy.
Thank you, Mr. Money.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's back up to y'all. I made the edits that y'all requested at the last meeting, and there was discussions about the whole aspect of section 7 and also some discussion of boundaries and also some discussion of outreach. And so I once again turn it over to you all for your review and edits of our future land use plan draft.
Thank you. Mr. Wooten, would you like to start on this?
I would indeed, and I'll try to keep these remarks brief. If you look at page 64, as you're turning, let me just preface these remarks with a comment that I've shared before. I've done dozens, maybe hundreds, either written or contributed to presentations like this in the past. You come to a section like this, there's usually a question that you ask the requester. I've had this for both internal and external clients. Do you want this section to be a true comparison and contrast, or do you want it to be a foregone conclusion? And what I'm looking at right here, to me, strikes me as a foregone conclusion. There was an ideology that they started with, and then they wrote the comparison to reflect that ideology. If you look at 7.1, it diminishes the importance or use of whatever you want to call it, of strip development as opposed to commercial center. Those statements that it makes the bullet points could be accurate, but I think it's incomplete. Personally, I like being able to get off out of my driveway, get out of my neighborhood and hit the State Farm agent on, South Main Street, go a few doors down, go to True Line, go through the little connect, go to Food Line, maybe get lunch at, one of those little restaurants there. I mean, there's a use. There's a good thing. I like being able to park in front of Food Line 20 feet from the door, especially when it's raining. I look at this strip center right across the street. I like the restaurants over there. It's nice looking, could be better. But I think this comparison is not really an accurate, it's a conclusion drawing you to accept the commercial center. I would say the same thing if you look at the next page, 7.2, it has the same kind of feel to it. Back in the data section, I think it clearly indicates that we have been for some time and are continuing to be a bedroom community. People leave here and go other places to work. People come in here to work. Quite frankly, the unconnected roads or cul-de-sacs, every city that I've lived in, those were the prime lots. Those were the lots that people hit first. Those commanded the most money because they were lowest traffic. Your kids could play out in the street. My wife grew up on a street like this. Dusk to dawn. I mean, it was a playground. It was a place for a community, a place for a neighborhood to get together. I grew up in a neighborhood that looked like the one there on the right, no road network. Lived on a busy street. Didn't much care for it. Little girl next door to us ran out in the street, got killed because she was chasing the ball on that kind of thing. Now, there's some good things that are said by both of those sets of bullet points, but I don't think it's accurate. I think there's room for both, just like I think there's room for both of the commercial and the strip development. Same thing, I could go ahead, 7.3 and then 7.4, the same kind of an idea. It's a foregone conclusion that mixed use is better, open space development is better. I'm not advocating one or the other. I think both are legitimate, both are necessary, and we need to be aware of that. One grammatical error, Cameron, that I would point out to you on 7.3 on page 66, the right-hand side, the third line down, concept of mixed use goes back to a time before zoning when many uses were, not where, were found in a neighborhood. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. There were a lot of places like this, mixed use, you know. People had a store downstairs, people lived up above. You know, you don't see this much anymore. It's very uncommon nowadays. What you see is separation of uses mostly. Is that a good thing? Not necessarily good or bad, just the way it is. Now, again, we can look across the street, you can see the strip center and you can see the buildings just on the northwest corner over there. It's a combination here, you know, right outside our door. Both are good. One of the things I could say concerning mixed use, the thing when I saw that picture, I thought immediately of Mount Airy, the main street. All these storefronts, beautiful storefronts, wonderful shopping center. But to get to parking, you had to walk 10 minutes. Heaven help you, if your wife had been on a binge and you had 5 dozen packages in your hand, you had to make that walk back to the parking lot. Like I said, I like being 10 steps away from the front door at Food Lion. I like both of them. I think there's a place for both of them. I don't think we should be promoting one as opposed to the other. I think what we should be doing is finding for any given spot the best use. So that was all I want to say. I just comment that I think it really should be a good, honest comparison and not this foregone conclusion. So that's all I had to say about that.
Next. Oh, now. I've talked enough. I got a lot more to talk about, but Mr. Bailey?
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Huffine?
I'll go to page 6. I'm sorry. I'll just immediately bring our attention to the future land use map on page 63 and I'll just say it again, the need to have it consistent with what is actually taking place or what is actually proposed to take place or what is likely to take place in the next 10 years. I'm gonna take it home and mark it up and be a whole lot more helpful to you than I am right now with areas that are designated as certain types of districts or future uses.
I mean, is there anywhere in
There-
particular off the top of your head?
Yeah, there's specific places that are in conservation easements for in perpetuity that will never be industrial or mixed use or educational or employment districts. Somehow that information has got to get into the hands of the author of this. And I guess I'm the gap bridger in that case.
Yeah.
So I'll just take it on myself to try to help you get it as accurate as possible.
I mean, I understand.
Because you don't know.
Um,
And it would take, sorry,
no, you're fine.
it would just
the
take
only thing that-
research of the deeds to figure that out. And it's
I understand. And maybe, I guess, because we do have some conservation on here that essentially identifies where you really can't build it all. It's the floodway, all that area, potential floodplain area, but that's not exactly what you're talking about. I understand. If there are specific areas that need to be taken a look at, it would be beneficial to have those from you. However, I know that this has been an ongoing discussion. This is 3 months now as well. I know you all want to provide your insight to city council. But I guess, I don't know how long, I guess this can kind of continue along. I don't know if y'all want to look at it another month or however it wants to go, but even just a simple, I guess, statement from you all as such that this needs to be taken a look at and addressed in the final draft of it may be sufficient enough for city council to take a look at it and include it into their recommendations for changes as well. Yeah, I know I'm more than happy to sit here and discuss this for the next 5 months if we have to. But I want to make sure that we're progressing in a manner that is appropriate, I guess, for this plan itself. And for the whole section 7, like I said, I'm happy to provide any information that you all deem fit over to them so that it can be addressed and changed in their eyes, essentially. That's just my 2 cents currently and where I stand.
And I'll stop and say that my personal version, I'll get it edited with this, ADU and get it back directly emailed to you. So for distribution as soon as possible.
And I've got some stuff fixing to come on that he has with me already. I was just letting everybody know, after you see it, it may be addressing what your concerns are.
Mr. Chairman, my only concerns are basically are to echo a lot of what Chad has just said, because Cherry Lane has become a hot box for not only residential, it has gone crazy as far as large 800,000 square foot buildings and the amount of tractor trailer traffic down there. The creation of more and more traffic is really putting a burden on that entire area. Graham, I believe, has sat back and did, if you will, a reactive role instead of a proactive role on what has happened out there. And now we're trying to catch up. And so it's going to take a tremendous amount of work, not only by our advice to the city council, but it just, there's so much involved in Cherry Lane and what's going on. Anybody that lives out there, most people would tell you it has just changed the whole complexity of the area. It's no longer a place you want to live, to be in all truthfulness about it. So I think handling it takes a lot more personal insight as to what the language needs to be in part of this emerging growth conditions, which is on 53. As to what was said a while ago about strip development versus commercial centers, my biggest deal is I don't like generics, and I agree that we don't need to just become a city that is overwhelmed with no way to get around, and just because it seems to be a better commercial area for downtown growth, when actually it may hurt business more so than help it. The case in point being with Mount Airy. We were down there not long ago. Yeah, it's a beautiful little town, but to go anywhere, you got to park miles away, it seems like, and walk, and it's all uphill in Mount Airy. And unless you're carrying packages, then you fall downhill trying to get them to your car. So I think we need to be careful with preserving the city. And I think the language needs to mix the two areas that he talked about, commercial and strip development, as well as mixed in separation. That mixed use, you're allowing a tremendous amount of business and buildings to come in, and it kills the downtown preservation that we're trying to achieve here with the city of Graham. I don't like to see a lot of change. Yeah, I'm old, since 1891, as it was brought up earlier, but those are my concerns.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, if I steered you wrong, I'm trying to get back to that. My stuff is really on 7.
Would you like me to pull it up?
You can pull that up, but I'm going back to my notes that I had originally for chapter 6 there. Might not have it some, I'm sure I had.
Where? Got everything that Lidl.
I think I did.
All down there. Yeah.
I don't see my notes, but I had
That
some
road
notes from
Cherry Lane
6.
is small for the big 18.
Come back to
Won't
6.
try.
Most of my stuff tonight's on chapter 7, section 7. And, pretty easy and pretty simple, that the strip development,
Yeah.
I don't think any of that language there, the characteristics of a strip development include, I think we need to X all that out and start over with that. And I got some comments down there, if we can make it bigger where everybody can read it. It should maybe go there. I don't know. I kind of wrote some things out and just. I mean, the steering committee, when we had that meeting, time after time, you know, the committee and the public displayed their dislike of strip development. I'm not saying that we need to do away with strip development, but I think we need to change it a little bit. And if you could scroll on down to the next one with the photographs. That's our typical strip development in Graham right now. And it's generic. It's not uplifting and it's not inviting. It's generic. Scroll on down just a little bit further. I think we need to be doing stuff like that on our strip centers. Different roof height, different facades.
That, Alamance Crossing right here.
That one building on the right is
Yeah.
Malamance Crossing.
Yeah.
Which would give us a more, I don't know if it's gonna attract more business, but it's more inviting in my opinion. It may not be in.
Dean, just a comment about what you're seeing down there. I commented to Dean earlier that one prime example to add to what he has there is a little town just east of Memphis called Germantown. They enacted this kind of an approach probably 25, 30 years ago, and it made a huge difference in the look and the feel, the overall tenor of the shopping areas. It will make a difference, that kind of an approach.
That is, you know, we've got so many driveway ins, driveway outs, curb cuts. We need to do something on the number of curb cuts that you can have on a partial. And do more infield from parking lot to parking lot, which we're already trying to do. We do have some of that on South Main Street, but to keep you from having to go back out on Main Street to get the next building down or two buildings down, if you could funnel those stub outs from parking lot to parking lot, be more appealing in my mind. Now, you don't have to agree with me. I'd love to hear everybody's opinion.
Like,
If you go to Chapel Hill, you go to Carrboro, you go to Hillsboro, that's what you see. You don't see the standard traditional strip center anymore. They are there, but they don't feel like a strip center.
My only thought is, yes, you can reference some of this stuff. Say, for instance, they come in front of you all, right? But when a development like this were to come in front of city staff with no council or planning board interception of it, how exactly could we require them if it's listed inside of our future land use plan?
Take that out and put this in.
That would have to be inside of our development ordinance.
That's not hard to
I'm-
make some modifications. I don't know that we want to get that far and go that far to do that, but how are we ever going to make change if we don't change the development ordinance?
I completely understand and I agree with you. I think this is also a good step in the right direction if that is something where you want to match your future land use plan with a potential new updated development ordinance. Is we have presented inside of section 7 of how we envision this going along the South Main Street and East Hardin corridor. And thus you're changing your overlay district language that states it shall, I don't even know how you would define this, but I'm sure a more highly educated author of an ordinance could probably draft something up to where it meets more of these standards rather than just a block. right? Because I mean, I think that's typically, there's not a requirement. It's just you have to be clad with brick or stone or masonry, and that's it. There's no architectural elements that are associated with it. And maybe that's the inclusion that would have to come inside the development ordinance, but I'm not saying like this is what, if this is something that y'all would like to see inside the development ordinance, then it's easy, or not easy, but better to put it in here to refer it back to the development ordinance if it gets updated.
Like something like variable heights and structures.
Yeah, I think, you could reference that
Oh, that makes
into, like, inside of here, but inside the development ordinance was when it would actually have your nitty gritty, like, what exactly is required.
This is a guidance document. It's not law. It's
Right.
not ordinance.
correct.
Right.
This is the design philosophy. And then the UDO is going to be the fleshing out.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think if this is going to be, this is a design philosophy, it needs to be in this document, like what the chair has listed out there.
I agree. Yes, sir.
That was just one of my concerns there that I think that we need to look at is changing those comments there on 64, page 64, right there under strip development.
Yeah.
Changing some of that. Going down to 66. Add comments under the concept of mixed use, go all the way to the bottom and add some comments. Mixed use, and then I put that there. Nobody's gonna hurt my feelings if you don't like it. I mean, it's okay.
That's pretty well said. right?
Yeah.
Then if we take on from there, after those comments, if we scroll on down and go to, section 8. Under Graham City Council, I want to add some comments there.
Is CP comp plan? Gotcha.
Get it out. I done got tired by that point.
For the fact with that paragraph, uniquely says arbitrary. Because a lot of times, regardless of how the insight that is given, they make those arbitrary decisions and then they end up getting pushback on it. And that's very well.
Well, I encourage all of you, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call UNC School of Government, because they will talk to you.
The reason behind it, a lot of times, and I'm not taking sides with, their board or anything else. Board, it's just that, a lot of times we do all the legwork as a planning and zoning. We get out here and bust our buns trying to get the right stuff done. We present it and it goes on deaf ears. And then they wind up making such arbitrary decisions is what he's pointing to, I believe.
Yeah, that will have to be something y'all will take up with the members.
Oh,
of the
we-
council.
I'm not afraid to put it in, I'm not afraid to put it in there and let them take it back.
We don't-
No,
Excellent.
That's not directed towards
No,
you or
I-
anything, Cameron.
I think we just needed a good laugh there. for a second.
You wouldn't offer.
No, 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 no. Like, I mean, I think, as a planning board, right, you've talked about these specific sections to a good extent of these are the ones that you all feel need a deeper look at, right? And this document that Chair Ward provided is that bit of insight to, hey, us, the planning board, we're not really satisfied with what was listed inside of these specific sections. We can go through and mark up every single word, change every single paragraph inside of here until we're, here for a couple months. And I'm not like, I wasn't trying to be rude when I was saying that earlier, but if there's a general consensus with, I mean, even if it's what Chair Ward provided, that this is the planning board's view on this with the markups that we've already provided, is that these sections are not sufficient. This is why, this is what we think should happen, then that is essentially what you pass along. And like I said, it's like, we can mark it up and do everything if we need to. And I'm perfectly fine with doing that if that's what y'all want to do. But I think with what you provided expresses your opinions and thoughts associated with it. And I don't want to say it'd be sufficient enough to pass along unless y'all would deem that such. So, but that's just where I'm looking at it from a staff perspective.
Well, it's perfectly understood. I just want to reach back way before your time
Mhm.
and even bring up something that happened, if you will, with the Family Dollar down here in the old Hardee's building. And things were brought up about after the fact,
Mhm.
and they put this thing in the historical district. And now we're stuck with it. Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. No, I understand. So,
That's the things we're trying to avoid. I
No.
believe that's what this is
I
about.
also understand, I mean, your concerns about Cherry Lane area. And again, like that was also something that I believe was heavily discussed in the 2015 update of this, and that's been, 11 odd years ago. And I believe at the time there was a discussion where they saw it being that type of area over there, and that's what it's grown to be. Whether or not it got the public input it needed, I don't know.
Well, part of that discussion, was not part of the original plan. It got overlooked, I believe. I don't know intentionally or not,
Yeah.
but most of that area along Cherry Lane was to remain residential. It wasn't for high impact industrial.
Yeah, I understand. It's just, some of it was zoned industrial, of course, and when it's that, this document, like Mr. Wooten said, is not law by any means, and they're just adhering to what our development ordinance says, so.
Exactly. But thank you.
So does anybody have any problem with the 3 pages that I submitted there, inserting or deleting or hashing anything out about it? Cause I'm not opposed. If you don't like it, we won't put it in.
I like it.
I mean, the only thing that I would kind of request is essentially a blurb, right, from you all. As I kind of stated earlier, and like, I don't want to put words in y'all's mouth, right? If essentially what I said was planning board express their, disagree, what's a good word for it? Their
It's like
Reticence.
with section 7 and 8 as listed and provided this specific document associated with it, that also accompanies other edits inside. And Chad, even your aspect of the future land use map as well. Like I said, I mean, if we want to table this again to allow him to make the edits to it, we certainly can.
absolutely.
If they have like a brief blurb or something that essentially states, there is a lot of conservation area here that still needs to be addressed inside of the future land use map. Like I said, that could be taken and looking at and addressed in that sense too. So,
And you'd want to include in that how these section 7 and 8 correlates to section 4, goals to guide us into the future. Like, goal 4.1.2, strategy to encourage internal connectivity between commercial plazas with sidewalk trail.
Mhm.
And what are we looking at? That, are we gonna have trails?
inside subdivisions potentially, if there's a
Okay,
green
you're
space.
talking about this is the reduce the proliferation of commercial strip development occurring. That's where that strategy too is trail
Mhm.
in regard to commercial strip. How do those two correlate?
Maybe crossing property lines to get to another commercial development.
A little vague. The other one, 4.4.2, strategy 3, require brick stamped concrete for crosswalks. That's still valid at this point?
Is that for all commercial? Or is that just talking about the historic?
That's improved the walkability of the city. Is that still a valid statement at this point?
Could be. Depends on who you ask, I guess.
Okay, so section 7 is going to have correlation with section 4, so that needs to be addressed as well. So
Yeah, totally understand. So that's essentially they expressed their concern with section 7 and 8, and not only that, with how it relates back to section 4, and provide the document and everything else that was associated with it.
I would suggest our great Bard over here take a look also, Chairman, at 7.2 and 7.3. Come up with some good verbiage in your copious free time.
It's amazing what AI will help you with. That's the key.
I mean, I think it goes to say that there's still a displeasure with 7 as a whole. I mean, it's not just the ones that he has specifically listed out, but you provided emphasis on displeasure with all of it, not just ones. He just provided comment on these, but feel like city council should take emphasis on all of them and use their guidance based on what y'all provided. So like I said, we can mark this thing up forever if we wanted to.
I would propose carrying this over, but also sending a draft to council just for review to let them know what we're working on.
I don't think we can do that because it has to be advertised as a public hearing and they have to review it during their meeting.
But then don't schedule anything next month
Well, you already tabled one thing, so
besides ours.
if
we-
it comes for a rezoning, we're gonna have to put them on the agenda, so.
Well, you let me know and we may have a second meeting next month.
Okay.
If that happens,
Yes, sir.
depending on, then that way I can poll each one, I can send an email to each member here to see how much time they think they're gonna need for what they've got. And see if we can work it all in, if you've got a big agenda or something like that. If we can get it all in, I'm gonna try to get it all in on one. If I can't, we'll do two.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm just trying to figure out what getting it all in is, right? I mean, I think, we've edited a lot of things inside of here and we have expressed all these things, but these are the same comments that we were talking about at the last meeting and we still have the same document in front of us outside of what you have provided essentially.
Well, I didn't see any indication of where we changed anything from the last meeting.
That is completely false because I
Oh,
changed.
no, of what I changed tonight.
Okay,
No, I'm not saying not what you,
Yes,
what I changed tonight. I didn't, every time I read back over it, I can do this for another year.
yeah, I mean, I think that's anybody could do it for you could read through a brand new development ordinance and do the exact same thing and find plug holes. Same thing you can look through our development ordinance and find loopholes to build a accessory dwelling unit and another one after you subdivide it. I mean, there's any type of ways that you can look at this. And
This is
there's
going
gonna be,
to so for the next 15 years, 10,
Yeah.
15 years. So I'm just trying to make it the best that I can do and let everybody else do their part and then we'll send it on.
all right, that's fine with me. If that's what you all decide to do, that is fine. I'm just,
Let me ask one question. Am I the only one that is concerned that we have not received any public input at this point? And I'm not necessarily calling for a public hearing, but
I seen your emails that were sent. You have right to be concerned. I'm concerned, but I'm really concerned about this whole document that was written. I really think the city wasted their money. They didn't really get what they should have got.
I think
That's
you
my
got what you
personal
paid for. I think we
So-
paid and we got exactly what we paid for.
I
And
understand.
there was not
Yes,
any
of course.
engagement that was associated with any
Wait a
public aspects.
Wait a minute, Cameron. We as a board have not been able to talk to the authors of this document.
Mhm.
And understand their rationale, how they wrote this, why they wrote this. It may make a difference, but are we as a city, we can't afford to bring them back in here?
We can see.
I mean, we should be able to address them because they could have answered that question about public comment. You haven't been able to answer it. I haven't been able to answer it about, there was a lot of public comment, but I can't remember exactly what all was said at every meeting. And
Yeah, because I was not there either, but there was public comment that was gathered during all these events and there was comments that were gathered during steering committee meetings. And that's about all that I can provide.
we started with one group and that group left out and then we finished with a different group.
It was the same entity that did it, but the authors changed, not a different group.
Okay, but the authors changed. So
Mhm.
what the first guy heard, did the last guy hear or the author hear?
So the draft was provided by the first author and the edits to the imagery and some small tweaks of language were done by the other person in the department. So the Dawn, who you had experience with, was the one that provided the initial draft and presented that to us and then gave it to Jesse to essentially add all the imagery and everything with it.
Would it be beneficial? Does this board think it'd be beneficial to talk to the author? Would it clear up any of your questions?
It would have been a lot better if, and of course, you can't go back in time now, if you'd had some input in the beginning with the author. But now we're having to do it after.
But the steering committee did have input with the author, from day one. But it was tough for everybody.
Yeah.
It was tough for everybody, staff, the authors, the meetings, the people coming, going back and forth. But there's no possible way I could remember what all was said at each one of those meetings. But it may answer some of your questions, it may not, but there's like some parts there that definitely I think we've addressed a lot of the parts, but there's still more parts there that need to be addressed, even more, especially over there in section 6.
I know we all want to be done, so I'm not trying to open a can of worms. I'm just asking a question if we're going to table this so I can do my homework. This section 7 is titled Comparison of Development Patterns, and this may be an author question, so I'm not trying to get us into like a debate here. Is it required that we keep this title? And I am only asking because what I continually hear from everyone here is that we don't like having a comparison of development patterns. What you want to see is what we prefer the development pattern of Graham to look like going forward. And then we can tie that back to your section 4, right? Because section 4 says we don't want to have strip malls is essentially what that section is referring to. And if we can actually say in section 7, we're not, because what I'm hearing, right, take out the recommendation sentence, right? We don't like that Graham is recommending this. I am reading this as just, this is a strip development, this is a commercial center. These are the two differences. And what keeps being repeated from what I'm hearing here, and I know I missed the previous conversations you guys have been working on, is that there is a desire to keep this strip development, right? We all want to see it. That's what you love about the city of Graham. What you don't like about the city of Graham is what those strip developments currently look like, how they are built. So can we, is it allowed? And I know we're getting to the point where we just want to say, we don't like it, we're working on it. But is it allowed that this section is moved into, here is what we want it to look like going forward? Because to me, this is the future land use plan. It's a plan. It's not a comparison.
Right.
It is a plan. This is what we desire for this city to look like.
In the future.
And I'm asking that because if we are going to table this for another month and do our homework, I would love to rewrite this and say, these are the comparisons and here's what we would like it to look like.
I think what you would get, Cameron, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're gonna get this sent and then you're going to get our section as the planning board recommendation.
Right,
So the town council will see both sections.
That is correct.
right.
So to your point, no, there is not
Okay.
any requirement to keep anything inside of here. Title wise, we are just obligated by general statute to have a future land use plan.
Got it. Okay.
And it has to have X amount of factors and those
You
are
know, if this
enforcing that.
we were doing this for a reason.
Not, well, the reason is to establish a future
Right.
land use plan, as you're saying. And
Right.
I don't have anything else besides that because I was not directly involved with a lot of the writing of this. I was tasked to be in the back of the room. So it was supposed to be a lot of the public aspect, which there was some gathered and meetings with the steering committee, which those happened. And now that is what we got based on both of those instances.
If I can reiterate, maybe in a little bit different fashion, what I was saying, the point of what I was saying is that if we have a comparison of these things in section 7, it first of all needs to be an honest and complete comparison, both good points and bad points, pros and cons of each particular one. And there may be another type of use, who knows? But an honest and complete comparison of each one of these that it makes in section 7, these 4 different things. And then for all of these sections, what Dean has done is to have, okay, these are the pros and cons of both these approaches. This is what we would like to see. This is how we would like to see progress. What we want to see in the future. This is the direction in which we want to go. As I said earlier, this is a guide. Guide is useless unless we have some sort of verbiage in there that says, this is the way we want to go. This is the map. This is the route that we want to take. So right here, like I said, you've got a foregone conclusion. It's an idea, philosophy, a design philosophy that came from somebody else without a lot of input from the steering committee, apparently. And so that's all I want to see. It's just honest comparison and the best of both worlds. Or somebody, you know, in the future can take this and say, oh, that's what they were thinking. That's what they intended. That makes sense? Is that reasonable?
Very much so. Like what you said, it brings it to a point to make a productive plan for us.
Want to receive,
So we're gonna table it.
do we want to receive public comments at the next meeting? I mean, we're going to make a recommendation to town council and we've got no public input now.
Because it's
Talk
not
to Cameron and it's not required. I understand it's not required, but if it goes to council and we haven't received any public input, then it's going to be, why didn't planning board consider some of these comments?
I think we've received the public input that came to the steering committees at that time, and we received it. Now, we don't have a copy of it here. I don't know, is that something we can do? Because you're talking about advertising this out. I mean, it was tough getting people to come to the steering committee to begin with. It wasn't ever 20 or 30 people was the biggest one I think I ever saw, and the rest of them were 7 or 8 people.
Here's
Might have
a
been less
comment
than
to
that.
that.
It
If
may have been
nobody
less than that,
shows up,
Like 3.
it's okay, we made the effort. May get 10, you may get 20, you may get 0, but at least we made the effort to receive public input on what is supposedly the final document from staff, at least.
It's just, I'd have to look at it, but I don't, this isn't a public hearing item on behalf of the planning board. And that's the only thing that I can really relay over is that it's the same thing for any text amendment that comes in front of you all. It says that this is to be treated like a text amendment in this sense where this is a reviewing and recommending board to the city council. That recommendation to city council could include that we deem that there is a massive amount of public comment that needs to be held on this document. And that be essentially your recommendation over to them. We can't open up a public hearing according to what I think right now. I have to look more into it, but this is not up for a public hearing at this board currently.
I don't think you can ever go wrong by receiving public comment. Now, I've been out for 10, 12 years now, so it's been a long time. But I believe this board has the right to call for a public hearing, whether it may not be required, but it's an option.
I'd have to see if it's allowed.
Or we can call it a public comment, not a public hearing. We can call it a public comment section for an agenda item.
I mean, what are we gonna show them, I guess is the question.
You're gonna start back over from the very first of this
As
document and go all the way through it again? And let them have comments, so they're going to sit here while we go through the whole document and then we hear their comments? Or we're just gonna let them come in, give comment and not hear anything that we've discussed?
Back in the old days, okay? You used to make a copy available in the clerk's office and they could go in and review it and then bring their comments in. So you don't have to publish the whole document. You just make it available at Ms. Ward's office, I guess, or even Cameron's office and say, it's available for public review and we receive comment next month.
I don't have. a
But
problem.
that's the old days, folks. I'm assuming that's still the way it works.
yeah, I can't give you a definite answer right now.
If
I'm
you-
certainly happy to look into it and see, I mean, because essentially that's what it would be. I mean, it might not even be people speaking here in public. It's a matter of, these are what the comments that we received online here to you all are that. And if it is monumental enough to where we're going back and rechanging everything, I guess that's where we're at. But at some point, like I'm kind of trying to get at, I'm not trying to move this along, but there has to be a point to where it does proceed past this board.
Where you fish or cut bait.
I mean, we're doing our job. If it takes us another 3 or 4 months, that's what it takes us.
Okay? If that's what it takes,
If it takes that, and if council wants it before then, they can call over here and get us to send it over, and we'll be glad to send it over.
Yeah.
But we're just doing what we've been tasked to do,
I understand.
and, we're making progress every month. It just so happens to be there's a month in between a meeting, and whether we have anything on the agenda or not, but I think every night that we've had a meeting about this, we've talked 2 to 3 hours about it.
Yeah.
So I think we're really putting in the effort. I mean, I can throw my hands up today and say, oh, no, I'm not gonna do anything else. I don't wanna do that. I live here in Graham. I was born in Graham. And I wanna kinda know what the plan is for the next 15 years.
Mhm.
And I'd like to know that we had an opportunity to make it the best before we send it to council, and hope that the council adopts 100% of what we changed. Or maybe they don't adopt any of it. So,
Well, not only for the next 15 years, what we do with this over the next 15 years is going to be foundation for 25, 50, 100 years to come. So I'd like to get the foundation right.
so Mr. Stockard has got a valid point. Does anybody disagree with Mr. Stockard's point?
I agree with it.
Then Cameron is instruction
Can you
from
check
us.
into it?
You check into it, and if it's appropriate and we can do it, put it on the website, advertise it, if anybody wants to review it for next month's meeting. And no, appear or leave, I don't,
Let 'em
leave
leave
comments.
comments,
You can
yeah.
write a comment or appear.
Well, I think that's what we'll have to determine, right? I think it's just really an understanding between y'all is if public comment in the meeting is appropriate, would you all allow it? If it's not, is it appropriate just to receive the sets of comments? Vice versa, if it's allowed, do you just want the comments on a piece of paper? Or do you want to be here?
I don't think there's no question. I'm that person that everybody has a voice, and if you want to come in here, we ought to hear. And if you talk about it for an hour, I'll listen to you for an hour.
Okay,
I don't give time limits. I didn't want the time limit on anything. I believe that everybody ought to have a right to speak. We're the governing body of this planning board, and how else do you make change without communication?
understandable. If that's a consensus of you all, I'm happy to look into it.
So
Okay,
if that's
you would,
appropriate,
you would appreciate
if that's
it.
appropriate, please do.
Once again, even if you don't have a public hearing, if you have a public comment section related to this document.
Well, that's essentially I don't know, that's why I have to look at, because that's a public hearing, right? I mean, because the only public comment that's allowed is on non-agenda items. So like I said, it's an easy look into it.
On agenda items,
That's what it states on the side of the,
town council has public comments every meeting and it,
that are on non-agenda items.
They were on agenda items.
On
They come in, they
agenda
sign up for
you have to
agenda
sign
items.
up for it.
Cause
but
I
you can
come,
speak.
to the council meetings.
Wow.
But
last
it's,
month,
but
like,
what the
hours.
comments are about the actual meeting itself, whatever's on the agenda. So, it's not like they're not talking about.
Yeah.
I
And
think, yeah, I'll look into it, but I mean, there's been a lot of public comment, and I think it was more or less making sure that everybody that wanted to speak on public comment was here during that period and was accounted for. I'm happy to look into it. I'm just,
not to consider to continue the argument, but a lot of councils, county and city, put their public comment period at the beginning so they can exactly discuss or debate or comment on what's coming up on the agenda so they know what's being heard, as opposed to putting it at the back of the meeting.
it's, yeah,
After the fact.
it would take up with.
All right. We beat this in the ground enough tonight, I think, unless y'all want to stay for another hour.
I ain't got
So
nothing
since
to do.
nobody's wanting to stay for another hour, Cameron, do you have anything further you want to discuss?
No, I know, I may come off as maybe negative in some instances, but I'm just providing input on my side of things. I don't want that to be taken. I don't take anything that you all say to heart either. I know we're a working board over here and our relationship extends past comments that are made during this meeting.
Right.
And I'm happy to have you all and thank you for the review of the two rezonings we had today, and I will look forward to talking with y'all next month in regards to the text amendment and what updates y'all can have to that and updates to this as well, and I'll provide y'all with whatever I can find out.
Thank you.
Very much. Whatever comments and modifications, send them to him.
Send them to Cameron.
Direct,
So-
directly.
All right, now I want to just remind everyone that we are a public board. Our business is to be conducted in the chambers here. If there's three of us together outside talking to someone, we've constituted a meeting, is that right?
Nope, you're fine. It's four.
We're
Yep.
four, we've constituted a meeting. So be careful in your emails. If you send an email and you're responding to something, if it's related to something that should have been publicized and advertised, we're violating open meeting law, so let's try to be, we hadn't done that yet, but let's try to keep it for sure.
Y'all done a very good job. 'cause
So
I've had to go.
if you got your comments and stuff, you can send it to Cameron and then Cameron can send it out in a package to us and it's advertised and we're all covered there. Other than that, anybody else have any non-agenda items here to talk about?
Motion to adjourn, sir.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Ah.
Does anybody oppose?
No,